check. Can you hear me now? All right. Sorry about that. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Patrick Carey with Church of the Eternal Logos. And today we have a very special stream. A major thank you and shout out goes to the Eschaton Vigil. The Eschaton Vigil has been kind enough to sponsor another stream. Today we'll be talking about the prophecies of St. Kosmas of Aetolia. And as I was trying to show you guys, pardon for the muted mic, is actually the audio settings here in StreamYard for some reason got changed. Not sure what was going on. Anyways, so today we're going to be talking about some of the end time prophecies of St. Cosmas, a very important saint, 18th century saint. So we're talking about the 700s in Greece. He was went around Greece during the Ottoman takeover and was preaching to Albania and all types of stuff. He was the first one. I mean, he prophesied about telephone, technology, airplanes, aerial bombs. This is the mid 18th century, guys. So if you're familiar, the Wright brothers don't even fly until the beginning of the 20th century. And so the Eschaton Vigil has been kind enough, and a very big thank you goes out to the Eschaton Vigil and all the work they're doing. You guys know that I work with them. They're an Orthodox non-for-profit, which is translating tons of great work into English that has never been in English before. And we've talked about St. Cosmas in the Eschatological Visions of the Blessed. And there's a second edition getting ready to come out with way more footnotes. And I wanted to show you guys that the Eschaton Vigil has been kind enough. Not only did they sponsor today's stream, but this document here, the Prophecies of St. Cosmas, a 12-page document that has 122? Let me double check. 122 prophecies with incredible footnotes. And this is free to everybody. So this is totally free. All you have to do is click the link in the video description. It takes you over to the Eschaton Vigil. In fact, I'm going to share that link with you guys right now, just so you guys know. So this is all you have to do is sign up for the mailing list. Let me share that right now. There it is in the chat. You click that link, go over to the Eschaton Vigil. It's cosmos.eschatonvigil.org. You give us your email address, and you can download this 12-page document for free. No questions asked, no money, no subscription, anything like that. You just have to give us your email address, and you'll be part of our mailing list. And so this is going to be a really fun stream. I don't know how common some of you guys, or how much you guys know about St. Cosmas, but very cool saint. So he's, like I said, mid 18th century. And we're going to go into more because I got this video that I found from Tresagion Films. It kind of goes over his life and his work. Again, he's pretty much an Orthodox missionary. So at a young age, he actually goes to Vatopedi Monastery at Mount Athos and decides to become a monk. Stays there for about 17 years on Mount Athos. Eventually gets a blessing to be a preacher by the Patriarch of Constantinople. And he begins during the Ottoman reign, going around and preaching and bringing people back to the Orthodox faith. And this is one of the reasons why he's so popular in Albania. And he is associated with various miracles. So healing of the blind, a man with a damaged hand. He multiplied food in one instance that I was reading about. And eventually, due to rumors that were being spread by some certain Jews, particularly merchants, he was eventually killed by the Ottomans. And so this is towards the end of his life there. The rumor was going around, spreading specifically by Jews, that he was leading people back to the Orthodox faith, which he was. And when we watch the Tresagion film here, you'll see how popular he was, because he was bringing people, he was calling people back to Christ through prayer and fasting and participating in the Orthodox traditions. He would travel around various places, and he would basically have them build a big wooden cross and then a bench. They'd set a bench next to it, and he would sit there and he would just preach for hours. And much of it had to do with moral renewal. The spirit of Greece was, pretty much on the decline during the Ottoman reign there. And so he inspired the Greeks to actually defend their faith, renew their language. One of the things that he did was he built educational centers. And so he has a quote in regards to the founding of various Greek schools. He says, "My brethren, it is better for your village to have a school than fountains and rivers. For when your children learn to read, they truly become human." And so his emphasis on education and learning the Greek language was a big deal for him in order for the Greek people to preserve their identity, their heritage, and their tradition. And so, like I said, very, very cool saint. We're going to kind of cover his whole life. And then I also have a video here. This is of a Russian priest talking a little bit. I may show this. It's in Russian, so we have subtitles here to read it. But he talks a little bit about how, the Jews, the various Jewish merchants were the ones that really got him killed. The Ottomans certainly weren't big fans of him because he was inspiring a sort of Orthodox renewal among some of the population, but he also wasn't totally antagonistic to the Ottomans. So they kind of they left him be. But certain Jewish merchants were the ones that really sort of got the Ottomans to eventually drop the hammer and execute St. Cosmas. But this video here I thought was really interesting. This is of a Greek priest, and this is actually in English. And this is him talking about some of St. Cosmas's prophecies and how they relate to modern day Greece. So I thought we're going to play some of that eventually. And then we're going to go over this whole document and check out all the great footnotes. And again, guys, this is available for free if you click the link and you go over to the Eschaton Vigil. Just put in your email address and you can download this PDF document for free. And the Eschaton Vigil, we plan on doing another one on just the prophecies of Saint Paisios. So we have a handful of streams that we're going to be doing in the near future. So major thank you. Can we get a thank you in the chat for the Eschaton Vigil? I mean, incredible work that they're doing over there. And a lot of new translations. One of the things that he's really trying to focus on right now is putting out a second edition of the Eschatological Visions of the Blessed with way more footnotes, more prophecies. And this is a book that is kind of an overview of various Orthodox saints, whereas we've already covered elders on the end times previously. And then we also did Russia Before the Second Coming. Again, these are books that had never been available in English before. These are eschatological works from the Russian tradition, from the Romanian tradition. And that's what the Eschaton Vigil, the non-for-profit, is doing. So please support the Eschaton Vigil. They're doing incredible work. Soon we're going to have an app out, and that's going to be publicly available. And if you're a member at the website, you can get access to hundreds and hundreds of these prophecies. So just check out the eschatonvigil.org. And if you really want to support, please become a website member. And again, you can get access. Everything in these books is already digital over at the website. So major thank you. Yeah, we're seeing W's in the chat for the Eschaton Vigil. Major thank you to them. So don't have much of a monologue today because I really want to just get into the document and kind of discuss some of the footnotes, because that's what I think this document particularly, why it's so great, is just look at all these footnotes. Look at the amount of footnotes and research that the Eschaton Vigil has done in regards to giving a sort of context for all these different sort of one-liners. If you just read them, it may be hard to follow, but with all these footnotes, it really gives a framework for how to understand it, the historical context, what is some of the deeper meaning, what is it referencing. And so, as I said, one of the cool things about St. Cosmas is he prophesied in the mid-18th century about communication, technological communications. We could see this as telephones, as computers, but he was saying that they're a point in the future. People are going to be able to speak from one city to another as if they're right next to each other. He talked about flying iron birds, clearly a reference to airplanes, and that these birds eventually in the future were going to be dropping bombs, explosive devices, which of course now is normal understanding, but in the mid 18th century, I mean, who could envision that? So um, anyway, smash that like. Let's do a quick housekeeping, and I want to get straight into the topic today. I don't want to do too much meandering and you know monologuing before we get into stuff. So here we go. First thing I want to do is, if you want to support my work, the best thing you could do is go over to my website and become a website member. We have 3 different memberships. Last night we just had one of our premium think tank. That is the first Monday of every month is our fitness meeting. The first Wednesday and the third Wednesday of every month is our premium think tank. This is for essentially Orthodox people. It's all men, but Orthodox men. You can be a woman, but Orthodox men all around the world. And we kind of talk about the latest happenings in culture and news, geopolitics, prophecies, anything like that. So if you would like to be part of that group, please sign up and support my work that way. The link to do so is right there. Also, if anybody be interested in setting up a one-on-one session, you can do so with this link right here, and I will reach out to you and we'll set up a time to get into a private Zoom meeting. And then right here, if anybody would like to sponsor a stream, and I got to say, right now, I'm trying to finish my PhD before April 1st. So if you do sponsor a stream, bear with me. It's probably going to be at least a month before we get to it. I already have a handful in the works right now. And so I'm only going to be streaming maybe 1 to 2 times a week until the first week of April. I just got to get this stuff done. And so you can see I have tons and tons of research books around me. So bear with me. But if you would like to sponsor a stream, I promise you we will get to it. And you can do so with this link right here. And again, a major thank you goes out to the Eschaton Vigil for sponsoring today's stream and supporting my work. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you, brother. God bless you and the family. And then last thing is, I always want to say, go to the Eschaton Vigil. So here is the eschatonvigil.org link. This is where all these prophecies are being translated. And there's he has 3 or 4 more books in the work of translating. So tons of labor and time and attention to trying to translate some of this stuff and make it available for the first time ever in English. So major thank you to the Eschaton Vigil. And if you'd like to go over there, use this link right there that I just posted. And again, let me share the Kosmas link. If you want to get access to the document today, which is totally for free, all you got to do is give us your email address. You can do so with this link right here. All right. Okay. So with that being said, now let's get into today's stream. First thing I want to do is, as I mentioned, we're going to play the video. I think Trisagion Films does a fantastic job of providing an overview of St. Kosmas, his importance, and why in modern day Greece, people still read his prophecies and how they relate to contemporary events. Now, this video doesn't get so much into the prophecies. We'll be getting further into that later in this stream, but it does a fantastic overview of who he was and his importance and his missionary work. So let's check this out, just so we have a sort of historical context of who St. Kosmas is. And again, blessed Lent to everybody. So I think this is the first stream I've done since Lent started. So blessed Lent to everybody. God bless you guys. I hope you have a wonderful Lenten journey to Pascha. And that's actually going to relate to today's conversations, because one of the prophecies that St. Kosmas talks about is the times in which the Pascha lands on a date in which both the West and the East celebrate. And some of you guys are probably aware that this year is one of those years. So since his prophecy, there's only been one other time. It was in the early 20th century. And then this is the second instance in which Eastern Orthodox Pascha lines up on Western Easter, which is April 20th of this year. So this is a significant date. This is a significant event. St. Paisios, I believe, talked about this. So anyway, just keep that, but we'll get into all that stuff in just a little bit. But first, let's check out the life and missionary work of St. Kosmas.
Saint Kosmas of Aetolia is considered one of the great missionaries of the Orthodox Church. Much like St. Paul, he traveled a great distance to proclaim the gospel. He built schools and reinvigorated the Orthodox faithful of Greece during the time of the Ottoman occupation. Costa, as he was first named, was born in 1714 in the village of Megadendron in the mountainous regions of Aetolia.
And for those of you who don't know where that is, I pulled that up on Google Maps. I always like to have a little geographical reference. So he's right here. He was born in sort of central Greece, central southern Greece, right in this area in Aetolia. And then those of you who are familiar, Mount Athos is over here. So it's this peninsula up here. And I highly recommend. My only experience in Greece is going to Thessaloniki up here in the north. Was able to venerate Saint Gregory Palamas and his body, which is still there at his church. So just a little geographical reference. This is what we're talking about. Saint Cosmas is down here in central Greece, and this is one of the reasons why he's going to evangelize over in some of these islands and eventually up into Albania, where unfortunately he's going to be martyred.
His parents were originally from Epirus and worked as weavers. At age 20, Costa learned and then taught Greek grammar under the guidance of Archdeacon Ananias. He also studied theology and medicine. In 1749, the Athonias Academy was established near Vatopedi Monastery on Mount Athos. Costa felt drawn to Mount Athos and decided to join the academy to study theology and philosophy.
You guys can't see the video? What the heck? You guys can't see this. What is going on? What? All right. Well, let's end it and let's try to reconnect. Well, that is so weird. Can you guys see this? I can see it. Everything looks fine on my end. Okay, you guys can see that now, right? Very strange. All right, well, let's restart the video here. Sorry about the technical difficulty. Everything looked fine on my end. So very strange. Having some weird problems with StreamYard. Anyways, all right, let's start this over.
Saint Kosmas of Aetolia is considered one of the great missionaries of the Orthodox Church. Much like St. Paul, he traveled a great distance to proclaim the gospel. He built schools and reinvigorated the Orthodox faithful of Greece during the time of the Ottoman occupation. Costa, as he was first named, was born in 1714 in the village of Megadendron in the mountainous regions of Aetolia. His parents were originally from Epirus and worked as weavers. At age 20, Costa learned and then taught Greek grammar under the guidance of Archdeacon Ananias. He also studied theology and medicine. In 1749, the Athonias Academy was established near Vatopedi Monastery on Mount Athos. Costa felt drawn to Mount Athos and decided to join the academy to study theology and philosophy. There were many well-known teachers there at the time, including the distinguished Eugenios Vulgaris. Even as a student, Costa lived much like a monk while at the academy. At the end of his studies, Costa joined the brotherhood at Philotheu Monastery, was tonsured a monk, and was given the name Kosmas. They ordained him a priest soon after. Speaking much later about his Athonite experience, the saint said, "I stayed the longest on the holy mountain, 17 years, where I wept over my sins. Among the countless gifts which my Lord has granted me, he made me worthy to acquire a little Greek learning, and I became a monk." Perhaps he would have remained on Mount Athos longer, but the saint felt called to apostolic preaching. He sympathized with the plight of the Christians under Ottoman oppression, and was disturbed that many were ignorant of the faith, and some were even converting to Islam. The educational system was in crisis, with most intellectuals fleeing to the west. The common folk lived in poverty and were considered inferior subjects by the Ottomans. They lost all hope for a better future. With his spiritual father's approval, Kosmas traveled to Constantinople and received encouragement from many bishops and priests along the way. Finally, Patriarch Seraphim II granted Kosmas a permit to preach. His first apostolic journey began in the villages around Constantinople. As the crowds gathered at each place, he would stand on a low pulpit that rested in front of a large wooden cross and begin preaching. Brethren, I am a servant of our Lord Jesus Christ who was crucified. Not that I am worthy to be a servant of Christ, but Christ condescended to have me because of his compassion. Not only am I not worthy to teach you, but not even worthy to kiss your feet, for each of you is worth more than the entire world. He loved and greatly identified with the people among whom he moved and worked, speaking their language and using illustrations from their daily life to proclaim the gospel. Kosmas traveled next to Thessaloniki, then through Macedonia, Thessaly, and Aetolia, finally crossing over to the island of Kefalonia, sharing his urgent but simple call to repentance at each stop. When will we repent? Not tomorrow or the day after, but today, because we don't know what will happen to us by tomorrow. Take care, my brethren. Don't be infected with pride. Don't commit murder. Don't fornicate. Don't swear. Don't lie. Don't slander. Don't betray another. And don't overly adorn the body, because it will be eaten by worms. But adorn the soul, which is worth more than the whole world. Pray, fast, give alms, keep death before you, and hope for the time when you'll leave this false world and go to the eternal one. On his second journey, Kosmas covered many of the same provinces and also visited the islands of Skiathos and Skopelos before going into Epirus and southern and central Albania. The crowds that gathered to meet him were so large, he had to bring along 40 to 50 priests just to assist with confessions. He was even able to secure the donation of 4,000 baptismal basins to the churches throughout the land. His third and final journey was spent primarily on some of the Ionian islands, the Cyclades, and even some of the Dodecanisa, before he returned to the mainland. He traveled through Thessaly to Aetolia and visited Vrachori, Mesolongi, and Nafpaktos, speaking often about his great love for God and neighbor. God has many names, but his principal name is love. All Christians must have two loves, one for God and one for our fellow human beings. Without these two loves, it is impossible to be saved. At every stop, the truth of his preaching was manifested by many signs and wonders. He healed one man's withered hand, cured another of deafness, and yet another of paralysis.
And as I said, there was another miracle that related to him healing a blind man who came up to him at one of the small villages that he went to preach to. Another time, again, and he would come, as they're going to mention, he was so popular, he would come with, like 20, 40 other priests just so they could hear all the confessions of the locals when he went to go preach and call people back to the Orthodox tradition and really Greek identity. And one of the instances, a woman came to him and offered him food. And after he blessed the food, it multiplied and there was enough for everyone. And she kind of lamented on the fact that she didn't have enough for everyone, but she wanted to serve St. Cosmas. So there's multiple miracles associated with his preaching and his missionary work while he was traveling around, calling people back to the Orthodox faith in the face of Ottoman oppression.
Arta, Preveza, and the Ioannina were his final stops before he headed further into what is now Albania. At every stop, he preached and taught about Orthodox doctrine, the passions and virtues, prayer and fasting, marriage, and the unjust oppression of the poor. He even spoke about the rights of women. Don't treat your wife like a slave, because she is God's creature as you are. God was crucified for you as he was for her. You call God Father, she calls him Father too. You have one faith, one baptism. God does not consider her inferior. Kosmas understood how important it was to create an educational foundation that could sustain orthodoxy for generations. Brethren, learn as much as you can. Educate your children to learn Greek, because our church uses Greek. And if you don't learn Greek, you can't understand what our church confesses. It is better for you to have a Greek school in your village rather than fountains and rivers. For when your child becomes educated, he is then a human being.
And I just want to say, one of my Greek friends, shout out to Charzanis. One of the things that I love is speaking to a deeply pious Greek Orthodox Christian in Greece is that they have access some of these prophecies, some of this culture regarding the marble king and understandings of the end times and the invasion of the Turks, which is expected to happen in Greece. It is deeply embedded within the Greek culture. And one of the things that I saw, and one of the things that my friend Charzanis has lamented about, is that some of the younger, particularly the millennials and the Gen Zers, they do not appreciate the history of Greek culture or the church to the same degree. And a lot of people are just not practicing Orthodox Christians. I mean, they're swimming in it, the saints, the relics, the churches, the history, it's all around them. And unfortunately, so many of the younger people, due to social media and TikTok, they want to be part of this sort of global Western culture. And I noticed this when I went to Thessaloniki, is that the way that the young people dress in America, in Germany, in Greece, it's all the same. It's like this dominant social media culture is eroding the deeply important local culture that people come from. And when I say local, I don't just mean super, super local, but our national identities. And so I think one of the things, if we're just taking this away from St. Cosmas, is that Greece needs to revitalize that Orthodox spirit, especially amongst the young people, so that this culture can be preserved. When it comes to the saints, when it comes to the prophecies, the history of the church, unfortunately, young people are just turning away from it in favor of, the latest thing in Western culture, consumerism. And so St. Cosmas and his emphasis on young people learning Greek so that they can understand the church and the confession of the church, I think this is a calling that also contemporary Greece needs as well.
In 1779, Kosmas preached in what is now the country of Albania. Several groups opposed to Kosmas influenced the governor of the region, Ahmet Kurt Pasha, into believing that the saint was an agent of Russia. Muslim officials arrested Kosmas in August 1779. He understood death was near and encouraged his compatriots with a quote from the Psalms before being led away. "We went through fire and water, and you led us into a refreshing place." The next morning, as his captors slipped a noose around his neck, the saint gently passed. The executioners tied a stone around Kosmas's neck and dumped him in a river. 3 days later, a priest found the saint floating upright in the river just as if he were alive. Saint Kosmas was buried at the church of the entrance of the Theotokos in Kolikondasi. Saint Kosmas left behind many prophecies, which years, even centuries later, found their fulfillment. He foresaw the invention of the automobile, airplane, and telephone. He also predicted events that later occurred in Greece, including the Greek Revolution, with remarkable precision. One such prophecy foreshadows the violent wars of the 20th century. "You will see men flying in the sky like starlings, and throwing fire on the earth. Those who will live then will run to the graves and cry out, 'Come out, you who are dead, so that we the living may enter.'" Even today, the people of Greece have great love for Saint Kosmas. He devoted himself completely to his mission and contributed greatly to the revival of orthodoxy in Greece. Saint Kosmas of Aetolia, martyr and equal to the apostles, please pray for us.
Again, great video. Major shout out to Trisagion Films. Fantastic video kind of covering St. Kosmas of Aetolia. Again, they didn't cover so much about his death, but he was immediately venerated as a saint upon him dying. And from multiple sources that I could find, including OrthoWiki. So OrthoWiki, I have them pulled up here on St. Kosmas. You know, his influence was growing. It was very widespread in this sort of revitalization of Greek Orthodoxy, and it alarmed some of the Ottoman authorities, but most particularly various Jewish merchants who saw this as an opportunity to try to gain the ire of the Ottomans towards St. Cosmas, who accused him of inciting a rebellion against the Ottoman Empire, which is not what he was doing at all. What he was doing is calling the Greeks back to their identity, back to their history, back to faith in Christ. And eventually the local Ottoman officials, under the influence of wealthy merchants, we'll put it that way, saw him eventually as a threat to their economic interest and arranged for his arrest and execution. And that occurred in 1779 while in Albania. But like I said, immediately upon his martyrdom, he was venerated as a saint, and he was executed by strangulation, which is, you know, pretty unfortunate, as the video mentioned, and then thrown into the river. So 3 days later, Christians found his body floating and incorrupt and took it for burial. And so ever since then, St. Cosmas has been venerated. And it was in his feast day is August 24th. And in 1961, the Ecumenical Patriarchate of Constantinople officially canonized him as St. Kosmas of Aetolia. And so incredible saint. Now, with that being said, I want to start getting into our document today. And again, a major shout out to the Eschaton Vigil. And if you want to download this document, guys, it's for free. All we need is your email address. Let me share that link again. It's cosmos.eschatonvigil.org. And this is for free for everybody. So again, major thank you to the Eschaton Vigil for putting this together and making this stuff available for the first time in English. This is basically all of his prophecies. So you can find various things online in English, but it's not all of them. It's some of them. This is the collection of really everything that we could find online. So major thank you to again, the Eschaton Vigil. But let's get into this. So worldly abode, Philotheu Monastery of Mount Athos, and then a complete list of St. Cosmas prophecies. And what I want to do today is, as we go through and read them, I want to read these footnotes, because that's what makes this document, in my opinion, so fantastic, is the depth of the footnotes and the research that the Eschaton Vigils put together. So first prophecy: one day this land will become Roman, and blessed is he who will live in that kingdom. So first and second footnote is referring to Roman means Greek, the Eastern Roman Empire, right? So Greeks view themselves as the inheritors of the Roman Empire, and then spoken in various parts of occupied Greece, which were later liberated from the Turkish yoke. So blessed is he who will live in that kingdom. Again, references to the Greek Revolution. Looks like we have a few super chats. Major thank you to David James Flood for gifting a COTEL Crew membership. Thank you very much, brother. Shout out to Bill Hicks for becoming a COTEL Crew member. God bless you, brother. And a major thank you to Tennis Racket, who gifted 5 COTEL Crew memberships to the chat. Thank you so much, Tennis Racket. And I actually have a video that I'll be uploading tomorrow for members only here on YouTube, and that is a comparison of Donald Trump and Cyrus the Great. So there's been, if you are familiar, in 2018, Israel created a temple coin, essentially comparing or insinuating that Donald Trump is a type of Cyrus the Great, allowing the Jews to return to their homeland, all this different stuff, what Cyrus did, building the second temple. And I think this is reference to Trump aiding and abetting the building of the third temple. And this came out when he moved the capital to Jerusalem. So I have that video. That's going to be on YouTube for members only. So if you want to get access to that, please get a COTEL Crew membership. Really appreciate that. Dano throws in 5, says, support the work. Thank you so much, Dano. God bless you. And Holland the Goods throws in 5, says, Eastern Orthodoxy has so much history of saints that are just fascinating. I don't see anything of the sort in any other religion. Have a great Lent. Well, thank you very much, Holland the Goods, for the support, and blessed Lent to you and your family as well. All right. Okay, number 2. So we got 122 of these to get through today. Oh, blessed mountain, how many souls, women and children, you will save when the harsh time comes. And footnote says, spoken in Citrista, northwestern Greece, and elsewhere facing the mountains, which at the time of the Greek Revolution were dens of women and children. So again, the footnotes provide so much historical context for this document. Number 3, blessed are you who are found up here in the high mountains, for they will protect you from many calamities. You will hear danger, but not see it. You will suffer for 3 hours or 3 days. Spoken in the region of, again, the same one, Theatrista. The desire, number 4, event will happen in the 3rd generation. Your grandchildren will see it. So 5 and 6, the desired refers to the return of Constantinople to the Greeks. And then footnote 6, spoken in Himara, this very important prophecy of the saints, which nursed the sweetest hope of the enslaved Greek nation, took amazing verification, because the time of the liberation of the nation is actually the 3rd generation by the year prophesied from the saint, because as we know, each generation is estimated at 25 years. So that's where, again, our Trisagion Films video talked about his prophecies had impeccable timing and precision. Number 5, a time will come when your enemies will take even the ashes from your fire, but do not change your faith as others will. Number 7, again, spoken in Theatrista. I pity you for your pride. My foot will never step here again. And if you do not abandon these things you do, lawlessness and robbery, you will be destroyed. One day, on that very branch where you hang your swords, the gypsies will hang their instruments. Number 7, the red caps will come first, then the English for 54 years, and after that, it will become Roman. So number 7, spoken in Theatrista. Number 8, the borders of the Roman land will be Vavusa, 11 and 12. Oh, actually, let me read these footnotes. That was 9 and 10. So spoken in Cephala, the previous one, talking about the red caps will come first in the English for 54 years, and after that will be Roman. The footnote says, spoken in Cephalonia on the liberation of the Ionian Islands, red hats are called the French soldiers from the color of their headgear during the Napoleonic period. This prophecy found amazing fulfillment because after the Venetians, the Ionian Islands were taken over by the French, and after their departure, there came the English, whose stay lasted exactly 54 years. That are as many as prophesied by the saint. In 1810, the English seized the Ionian Islands, except Corfu, which surrendered in 1815 to Campbell, and in 1864, they handed it to Greece. So again, you can see the immense accuracy of some of these prophecies. In regards to the borders of the Roman land will be Vavusa, that's 11 and 12. This is the Eos River, and spoken in the Arta, it happened already. See the next prophecy. From there, the Roman land will come, 13. Spoken in Preveza, pointing towards the mainland from where the army of freedom would come. This was fulfilled in 1912. Number 10, there is still much suffering to endure. Remember my words. Pray, act, and endure steadfastly until the Wound of the plan tree closes. Your village will be enslaved and miserable. 14. This was said to Saraplana, today Basilicon of Epirus. The wound on the plane tree closed in 1912, the year of Epirus's liberation. Means to work for your own liberation and not passively wait for others to free you. Number 11. When the desired one come, asked the saint of Saraplana of Epirus. When these unite, answered the saint, showing two Spaldings. 15. Spoken in Epirus village, the Spaldings grew together in 1912. And 12, the desired will come when two Paschal celebrations fall together. Now, this is very interesting because it could potentially relate to this year. As the footnote highlights, in 1912, the Annunciation and Pascha celebrations coincided. In 2025, this year, both the Roman Catholic and the Eastern Orthodox Church will celebrate Pascha on the same day of Sunday, April 20th, 2025. 13. When the tree closes and the stake is enclosed within it, then the longed-for event will come. There will be a sign, but do not be afraid. At sunset, go to the mountains, where many souls will find refuge. Take nothing with you, only save your souls, and the hardship will last no more than 24 hours. 14. The villages of the plains will suffer destruction, while those in the foothills of Kisavos will go to sleep as slaves wake up free. 17. So spoken in Larissa. 15. If the cypress dies from the top, Greece will be liberated. If it dies from the bottom, it will not. 18. Spoken in Zelenista. 16. It will come with difficulty. 19. Referring to the arrival of the desired. 17. When you see 1,000 ship fleets and the White Sea, then it will come. I'm going to read all three of these and then read all the footnotes. So we'll begin with footnote 20. But we're going to read 17, 18, 19. When you see the 1,000 ship fleet in Greek waters, then it will come. When you see the 1,000 ship fleet in Greek waters, then the issue of the city, Constantinople, will be resolved. So beginning with footnote 20, a massive naval fleet of several nations, see Prophecy 62. We'll get to that in just a second. 21, a great assembly of warships in the Aegean Sea opposite of the Black Sea, see Prophecy 62. Vlora and Albania. And 23, stay away from the Egnatia in nearby routes. 20, it will come suddenly. Have a sack of wheat hanging by your door. It will delay you as you flee. Do not leave it behind. Take it with you so your children can eat. Oh, I must have skipped a few footnotes. In Avlona, there will be destruction. Armies will come to liberate the land. In Bukorme, much blood will be shed. 23, when you hear what the war has begun, then it is near. 24, villages near roads will suffer greatly. 23, this is where it says, stay away from Ignatia or nearby routes. Villages near roads will suffer greatly. Dropolis will suffer because the land is barren. Dropolis will be filled with armies. The harvest of the year will be lost from fertile Dropolis, and oh, my mother, such blood will be shed. 28, the pits and rocks of Dropolis will be filled as people flee. 26. Actually, I want to read, I skipped that one. Footnote 24, region in northern Epirus, once filled with vineyards, but lacking trees to hide people during battles. This is why St. Kosmas brought olive saplings with him and urged people not to plant vineyards, but instead to grow olives and other trees. This prophecy has already been fulfilled multiple times. And then regarding the droplets will be filled with armies, 25. During World War III, which is not yet to come, which the saint referred to as the General War. And again, there's a video that I've shared before of Father Peter Heers talking about the bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities by Israel. This is one of the signs that the Great General War has arrived. And another one is the stepping down of Erdogan from Turkey. So these are two things that us Orthodox faithful need to keep our eyes out for. And Erdogan has been losing support in Turkey. It sounds like one of the oppositional political parties are rising in public opinion. And from what I've been reading, some of the Muslims in Turkey wish that he had been a little bit more antagonistic towards Israel, which he has not been. And as you guys has recently seen with the fall of Assad, essentially Turkey betrayed Russia. So there was an alliance between Russia and Turkey. And one of the things about the prophecies, we've talked about this before, is that Turkey and Russia are going to be at opposite sides. And this alliance that they'd have in recent years, it didn't make sense exactly how this was going to occur. But with the overthrow of Assad, we see that Turkey betrayed Russia and basically planned this event with Israel. And Israel has taken the southern part of Syria. Turkey has taken the northern part. And then they also have a hand in it and been aiding and abetting some of these radical Islamists in their revolutionary takeover. And this has all been touted as a liberation of the Syrian people. And it's not. Multiple Orthodox clergy have been attacked. I saw one man, he was dragged through the street during this, during this quote unquote liberative revolution. So these are signs that already we can see how things are beginning to line up in ways that we really couldn't even see just a year ago. So very, very interesting stuff. And then 26, this was when the pits and rocks and droplets would be filled as people flee. It says, in the Albanian manuscript, the prophecy is as follows. The mountains, ravines, and plains of Dropolis will be filled with refugees. So very interesting. 29, the village of Pepeli you will fear in vain. Nothing will happen to you. Only your children who are on the roads will make you weep. Number 30, the Antichrist will leave, but they will come again. Then you will chase them all the way to the red apple. Now, this is very interesting. This is something that I had to look in a little bit. It's kind of a mysterious. Those who are embedded in Greek culture, you probably know what the red apple tree is more than other people. But let's see what the footnote says. And then I have a Wikipedia page on the red apple. So this is 27. The tree means the headquarters of the red flag of the Antichrist, i.e. the bloodthirsty enemies, perhaps in Mecca or the Muslim countries. Now, whenever you hear about the red apple tree, this is one of the things. So this is, according to the Greek people's traditions, the red apple is a legendary place to which the Turks will be expelled from Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul. Now, remember, we've read multiple prophecies before in which a third of the Turks will die, a third will convert to Orthodoxy, and a third of the Turks will flee. And the place in which they'll flee is often referred to as the red apple or the red apple tree. According to the legend, after the liberation of the former Byzantine capital, a marbled king, St. John Vatatzes, we've talked about this before, and the Eschaton Vigil is translating a book right now on St. John Vatatzes, the marbled king, who's going to ascend to the throne and worship Christ at the Church of Hagia Sophia, which will now again be taken over by the Greeks, by the Orthodox Christians. So we're going to be doing a stream in the future on St. John Vatatzes, the marbled king. But according to the folklore, research conducted by Nikolaos Politis, the red apple trees corresponds to monodendrio of the pre-fall Byzantine oracles and prophecies told during the dangerous sieges faced by Constantinople. However, how and when monodendrio was replaced by the red apple tree and what the latter was based on remains unknown. It is likely relevant that the Turkish legend of the red apple, which symbolizes the ultimate goal of conquest, Constantinople was first labeled as the red apple, followed by Rome, Vienna, and Moscow. The legend and the term are also used in modern times. Left and right-wing nationalists who fear a breakup of Turkey if it joins the European Union call themselves the Red Apple Coalition. In early 2018, the legend was invoked by Turkish President Erdogan during the Turkish military operation against the Kurds in Syria. And one of the things that's very interesting, again, is Erdogan's one of the Muslim leaders that made a specific reference to the Muslim invasion of Europe. So as it talks here, the red apple is a Turkish reference to Muslim conquest. First reference to Constantinople, which obviously the Ottomans took over. And then Rome, Vienna, and Moscow. If you guys are familiar, Vienna was the furthest point in which the Ottomans made their way into Europe. Thankfully, they were defeated. But Erdogan made a public statement that the amount of Muslim migration, especially young men, into Europe, he said, this is something that we could never have dreamed of, that the Muslim conquest attempting to take over Europe throughout history could never have dreamed of the amount of Muslims that are now in Europe. And so Erdogan clearly sees this as some type of military conflict. Now, it's not explicit, obviously. It's not like they're all on the same team or all from the same nations even. But he sees this as a sort of war-like maneuver of the Muslim world against the Christian Europe. So very, very interesting little reference there. But yeah, the red apple, if you see that come up, now you have a little bit of an understanding. And if we have any Greeks in the chat, feel free to talk a little bit about that, because I'm no expert at all on any of this stuff. I'm just somebody who's very interested and very thankful again to the Eschaton Vigil for translating all this stuff. So 31, and we'll get into footnote 28. It will come when 2 summers and 2 Pascha celebrations arrive together. So that would be this year. That would be this year. So the liberation of Northern Epirus from Hoxha's atheistic regime happened in 1991 when Easter and the Annunciation coincided on the old calendar, which was used in St. Cosmas's time. The 2 good times, 2 summers, refer both to the fall of the communist atheist yoke and the democratization of Eastern Europe, as well as the generally good economic state of that era. And then 32, a foreign army will come. They will believe in Christ, but will not know the Greek language. And so just based on me reading, the way that I took this, because we're going to be listening to one of the Greek clergy priests speaking on some of these prophecies, and it's believed that that is the Russians. So the Russians, and so the Greek priest tells them that St. Cosmas told the Greeks that when the army comes, to make sure you cross yourself, so the coming military will know that you're an Orthodox Christian and not a Turk, because we have similar facial features. And so the idea here is that the Russians are going to be a liberation force for the Greeks. Okay. 33. A foreign army will come once, and they will believe in Christ, but you will not recognize them. 34. You will go to sleep with some and wake up with others. 29. It will come suddenly. Prophecy 149 in the manuscript reads, at night you will sleep peacefully, and in the morning you will find the streets filled with foreign people. Could that be a reference to the migration? Because one of the things that's happening in Greece right now is the amount of Muslims that are coming in. I've recently had a friend go to Athens, and they couldn't believe how many Muslims there were in the capital city of Greece, in Athens. And so this phenomenon, this Muslim conquest, this invasion, this is part of the fulfilling of prophecy. 35, you will see 3 families living in a house. 36, you will leave your homes to live elsewhere, and others will come to live in yours. 37, you will see 40 horses tied to one stake. Footnote 30, a vehicle with a 40 horsepower engine is what he clarifies in the footnote. 38, many will perish from hunger. 39, the rich will become poor and the poor will die. Reference to 31, footnote 31. And this says, this applies not only to material wealth, but also to spiritual wealth, which is being increasingly eroded by the corruption of our times due to general decline, irreverence, materialism, and immorality. A handful of gold will be worth a handful of flour. Footnote 32 and 33. Prophecy 81 in the manuscript reads, people will dig in their homes to hide for bread, hide wheat for bread. Whoever has a little hidden will not dare take it to the mill. They will grind it in hand mills. And 33 says this was fulfilled during World War II. 41, a time will come when the Romans, the Greeks, will fight among themselves. I recommend unity and love. 42, you will see both my regular army and rebels, guerrilla fighters. You will suffer much from them. 43, they will ask you for rifles. Have two. Give them one and keep the other. One rifle will save 1,000 souls. Footnote 34 and 35. So 34 reads, Prophecy 99 in the manuscript reads, a foreign army will come. They will believe in Christ, but will not know the language. They will ask for weapons. Have two. Give them one and keep the other. You will go to sleep with some and wake up with others. 35, this should be taken seriously by those living near borders, both on land and at sea. 44, a time will come when the world will be ruled by the mute and the deaf. Footnote 36, the mute and deaf refers to lifeless machines and inventions. So moving into the technocracy, these have replaced and continue to replace human labor and dominate people's lives, becoming modern idols worshipped by the materialistic world. Computers are mute as they are nearly silent, and machines are deaf with their constant noise. So very interesting stuff regarding, speculation about the technocracy that's coming in. And this is something that's been related to my suspicions regarding transhumanism and how this may play a role with the Antichrist. Because as we talked about, and I've said this a number of times, St. Nihilus has a quote, very interesting, that the Antichrist will be born without male, the regular means of copulation. So he will be born of some type of scientific means. And the way that we translate it was like in vitro fertilization. And so we are seeing now with Donald Trump, there's a lot of good things that are happening domestically. But one of the things that we were talking about quite a bit last night in the think tank was the immense Zionist push of the United States and the Trump administration right now. I mean, they're passing all these anti-Semitism bills. Even RFK Jr., the head of HHS and health, for some reason was posting about one of his priorities is to end anti-Semitism. And certainly violence against any group of people should be frowned upon. That is not the Christian response. That's not what the saints or the Orthodox tradition calls us to. But it is very interesting the role that Israel plays in a lot of these prophecies. So if you've listened to Metropolitan Neophytos of Morphu, he talks about this quite a bit. And Elon Musk, one of the things that I'm seeing right now, because I was talking with somebody who was very much in favor. They were Christian, they're more Protestant, but they're very much in favor of the things that Elon Musk is doing right now. And I was trying to tell them, look, Doge and making sure the government is smaller, more efficient, doing away with corruption and malfeasance regarding the spending of tax money. That is fantastic. Those are great things. However, the reason why I believe Elon Musk is part of this Trump administration is what I'm seeing is that it looks to be some type of an agreement. And so Trump, he wants to take us back to a sort of an 1890s economic model in the United States where the U.S. has tons of gold. We manufacture our own goods, domestic labor, and the ability for people to live here to spend their money, housing prices, basically domestic prosperity built upon low taxes and higher tariffs. Okay, fantastic. One of the things that is speculated by people I've been listening to is that there's been an agreement with Trump. The reason why he's allowed to do this in face of the central banks and all this different stuff, the Federal Reserve, is that there's an agreement for the Greater Israel Project. And so the Greater Israel Project clearly aligns with prophecies regarding the end times and events that are going to come regarding the arrival of the Antichrist. Now, I'm not saying this is immediate. We don't know the timeline, right? We're just supposed to use the wisdom of the saints and the wisdom of the church to try to, have some type of awareness so that we can see the signs and the symbols when they emerge in history. And Israel bombing the nuclear facilities of Iran is that sign. So that's something that you guys have to keep your eyes out. If Israel bombs the nuclear facilities of Iran, or if Erdogan steps down from Turkey, these are signs that we have to keep our eyes open for. However, the Greater Israel Project is the sort of prophetic dimension of these people, these Jews, these Zionists who are anticipating the arrival of their Messiah, which is our Antichrist. It's essential for them to expand Israel. This is part of their prophecy. This is part of what they're trying to do, their mission. And Netanyahu is part and parcel of this. So when we see what's happening in America, what it appears to be is there's like a coalition between Trump and domestic prosperity, the geopolitical alliance between the U.S. and Israel for the Greater Israel Project, and then Elon Musk and the technocrats. Now, what you say, well, why are the technocrats? Because if Elon Musk wants to build the things that he wants to build, Neuralink, advanced artificial intelligence, Starlink, rockets to Mars, all this different stuff, whether you think that's possible or not, regardless, this is at least his public statements. He needs an incredibly efficient America. He needs America that has oil, that has energy, that has natural gas, rare minerals, so that his companies can thrive and he can actually build all this technology. So to create his technocracy, to create the global technologically interconnected world that Elon Musk wants, you can see how the Trump administration is sort of the pinpoint of where all these three things align. And this is why you're seeing, the inability to talk about Israel. And so Pam Bondi failing to release the Epstein files. This is something that's tied to this. And so I think it's because the Trump administration has essentially made this pact with Israel. And I'm not saying that Trump's a big fan of Netanyahu. It doesn't appear that he is. But he's made and if you saw the amount of money that he got for, it's like in the $200 million of specifically Zionist money for the Trump election in 2024. So I think we need to be aware of all this stuff coming together. The technocracy, Elon Musk wanting domestic prosperity, wanting a more efficient, self-determined America, self-sufficient America. Trump wanting to create sort of domestic economic prosperity, and then the Greater Israel Project, and how all this stuff is really tied with this sort of eschatological vision here. Exactly. Miriam Edelson, absolutely. Adelson's money. And doesn't she own like the Mavs too? She owns tons of stuff, like casinos, gambling facilities in Las Vegas, tons of different stuff. So just keep your guys' eyes out for all this stuff. And you can see how these prophecies, although they're from the 18th century, this is St. Cosmas, and we've already shown how prophetic, how precise some of these prophecies are. It absolutely relates to not only contemporary Greece and the invasion of the Turks, but the world itself and the movement towards the Antichrist and the Antichrist kingdom. So just want to throw that out there. Sorry to take that little route. Anyways, next one, 45. The cause of the great war will come from Dalmatia, 37. And so the footnote reads, it's a big footnote. From that region sprang the circumstances for both world wars. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, whose assassination on June 28, 1914, triggered the First World War, and Adolf Hitler, who ignited the Second, were both Austrians. In the Second World War, enemy troops, Italians and Germans, attacked Greece from the north, passing through Dalmatian territories. The wars in the former Yugoslavia, starting in 1991, destabilized the Balkans further. The situation worsened in March 1999 with NATO's war in Serbia and the escalation of the Kosovo issue instead of its resolution. This intervention was part of the New World Order strategy to fully control the strategic corridor of Avlona, the Adriatic, to Burgas, the Black Sea. Fortunately for Greece, the immediate interest of the global elite shifted to the Middle East, delaying their plans for the Aegean. However, when you see the 1,000 ships in the waters, then the rest of the prophecies will unfold. So again, a reference to one of the earlier prophecies. 46, the cause of the great war will come from Dalmatia. First, Austria will be divided, and then Turkey. So 38, the Austro-Hungarian Empire was dissolved in 1918, and Yugoslavia, once under its occupation, was later partitioned after 1990. Now it appears that it is Turkey's turn. All right. 47, the destruction will be done by a scruffy man. 39 and 40. 39 reads, Cassidiari in Greek. 40 says, prophecy 47. And the Albanian manuscript reads, the destruction will come from a blind and scruffy man. Scruffy refers to someone suffering from cassidia, meaning alopecia or scruff. Literally someone with alopecia, or symbolically someone corrupted mentally, quote, infected by an ideology such as globalization, syncretistic religion, so perennialism, or extreme nationalism, Zionism. Notably, a group of Kabbalistic Jews called the Hasidim hold significant influence throughout their rabbis, even outside Israel. On July 12, 2001, they announced the immediate arrival of Israel's King Messiah, the Hasidim. And trace their spiritual lineage. So it goes on. Or is that from? Yeah. Yes. Trace their spiritual lineage to ancient Babylon, where they adopted esoteric knowledge from pagans. They bypassed Mosaic law, following the Babylonian Talmud and Kabbalah. It is said that they influenced many politicians, including former U.S. President George H.W. Bush, who announced the start of the New World War during the Gulf War. The Hasidim reportedly supported George W. Bush as the ideal successor to continue his father's work. The second interpretation of scalp disease could relate to the mark of a chip or an Antichrist symbol, such as a Masonic or Zionist emblem, or the number 666, also refer to prophecy number 80. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. Prophecy 48. They will try to resolve it with the pen, but they will not succeed. 99 times with war and once with the pen. Prophecy 49. If three powers agree, nothing will happen to you. 50. If the issue is resolved through war, you will suffer great destruction. Out of three countries, only one will remain. 51. A time will come when you will hear nothing. And so this is footnote 41 and 42. 41 says, or learn, and 42 reads, end of communication, radios, televisions, etc. This was also fulfilled in Albania under the Hoxha, where people were kept in misery with only 50 grams of bread per person per day. To prevent rebellion, he isolated them from the outside world and claimed that Greece and the West were living under even worse conditions. 52, prophecy 52, whatever they ask from you, give it. Just save your souls. And then footnote 43. So prophecy 107 in the manuscript reads, the doors will be closed. People will be afraid to go outside. Prophecy 53, they will find silver in the trees. They will not bend down to pick it up, but for a single stalk of wheat, they will fight to the death over who gets it first. Footnote 44, it reads, a great famine will strike. People will search desperately for food in supermarkets. Beyond the hunger caused by the lack of goods, Vasiloupolis Apollose's manuscripts speak of another kind of hunger brought about by inadequate food. Quote, your plates will be full, but the food will be inedible, unquote. Similarly, Athanasopoulos' his manuscript foretells, quote, a time will come when you will have all kinds of goods, but you will not dare to eat them, unquote. This points to genetically modified, contaminated, and otherwise tainted foods. And this is something that was already brought up by Metropolitan Neophytos. Remember when we did the stream on Metropolitan Neophytos, he already talked about how genetically modified meat and bread and food was already present in Cyprus, and he was telling his parishioners to do not eat it. Do not eat the genetically modified food. Looks like we have a couple super chats. Tooth Chickens throws in $2, says, like the World War Now channel. Yeah, I'm friends with the World War Now guys. Yeah, they're good guys, and we'll probably talk about some of this stuff in the near future. I haven't spoke with them in a few months, but yeah, absolutely. Abject Fool throws in 20. Thank you so much, Abject Fool. He says, I listened to Sam Shamoon talk to a Jew yesterday. The Jews derive ethnicity from the mother and the tribe from the father, I guess. What does that mean about the Antichrist then? Well, in regards to the prophecies that we have, he will be born from a ritual harlot woman. So speculate, and this is just, we don't know the full context, right? We do know that the Antichrist will be Jewish, and he'll be born of a Jewish mother. Now, as I mentioned, the prophecies of Saint Nihilus, he speculates that he will be born of some type of technological insemination, and that in regards to the inversion of Christ himself, who is born by the Spirit through the Annunciation by the Virgin, that there'll be a sort of the total inversion as a harlot ritual sort of sex worker, or some variation of, and that potentially in an inversion of Christ's Annunciation of being born of the Spirit, that the Antichrist could be born of like artificial insemination or genetic engineering, something of that sort. But he will be born of a Jewish mother, and he'll be from the tribe of Dan. So that is something that everybody's pretty clear on. And just let me check real quick and see if anybody sent anything in. Magdalene throws in $10 on Dono Chat. Thank you very much, Magdalene. No comment. And let me check Streamlabs real quick, see if anybody sent any questions. Okay, doesn't look like it. All right, let's continue on here. So that was footnote 44. So prophecy 54, the disaster will come from the educated ones. So footnote 45 and 46. What does this mean, the educated? 46 reads, the inventions of the educated, which we now take pride in, including the modern predatory economic system, in Arnia, there is a saying, quote, when the young rule, disaster will come. Another saying promises, quote, refugees from the east will come to help Macedonia, unquote. Indeed, Greek origin Orthodox repatriates from Russia, Georgia, Ukraine, etc. have come and are settling in Macedonia. 55. It will last either 3 days, 3 months, or 3 years. 47. So footnote 47 reads, this pattern has been confirmed in numerous instances during the struggle to liberate Greek territories from the Turks. Another prophecy declares, quote, it will last 2 days or 2 months. Regarding northern Epirus, the saint foretold, quote, your freedom will come either a little before or a little after the issue of the city, Constantinople. It seems that Albania's Muslim population will ally with the dying Turkey against Greece, possibly even fighting alongside them. Turkey already has a base in Albania. After Turkey's downfall, Albania will come under the control of a Greek ruler favored by God, governing from Constantinople. Quote, little before likely refers to the partial freedom of northern Epirus after the borders opened in 1991. Interesting. Okay, prophecy 56. A time will come when the harmony that exists today between the people and the clergy will no longer be. Footnote 48. In other words, during this era, St. Kosmas affirmed a harmonious relationship between clergy and the laity. 57. The clergy will become the worst and most impious of all. Footnote 49. That reads, when the saint said this, some clergy in the audience were offended and said, quote, "Saint, this is a great insult to us," unquote. The saint replied, "And what am I? Am I not from your order? I tell you, one day this will happen," unquote. First come moral failures, then spiritual darkness takes over, leading to heresies and even apostasy. The saint speaks both of a moral corruption and a doctrinal error, such as religious syncretism and the one world religion. Another manuscript states, quote, "The clergy will become like the laity and the laity will become like animals," unquote. He also said, quote, "Listen, my Christian brothers, a time will come when the harmony between clergy and laity that exists today will disappear. When a priest visits a layman's home, as soon as he leaves, they will burn incense to cleanse the house. If he sits on a bed, they will shake it off after he leaves. If people meet a clergyman on the road, they will turn back instead of continuing their way," unquote. So very interesting stuff. Next one, Prophecy 58. In the city of Constantinople, so much blood will be shed that a 3-year-old calf will float in it. Prophecy 50. And this is something that we've read multiple times in some of the earlier works. According to a 2003 edition of Mikera Zaimi, the Little Doe, published in the village of Thermo in Trihonida, Greece, he stated, "A 6-fingered man handed over the city. A 6-fingered man will take it back." Interesting. 59. Blessed is he who lives after the great war. He will eat with a silver spoon. And this is also, remember, we've talked about before the state of America after the Great War, and there's the belief that America is actually going to become incredibly pious. So we don't know exactly the amount of destruction. I've talked about this before, but I'll just reiterate. America is not going to face a direct military conflict like some of the other parts of the world, like the Levant, like Greece, like the Caucasus region. Rather, America is going to have an internal civil war and great geological events. So could it be the volcano in Yellowstone erupts? Possibly, something of that sort. So they speculate anywhere between 60 and 90% of America may perish during the Great War or whatever this great catastrophe is. But those who survive and those who live after the Great General War will be incredibly pious Christians. And the idea is that America is actually going to become one of the more pious Orthodox nations in the world after the Great War. Prophecy number 60. After the Great War, the wolf will live with the lamb. Footnote 51. Footnote 51 reads, "And the wolf shall gaze with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid," says the prophet Isaiah 11:6. According to St. Basil the Great, this points to the spread of the gospel, quote, "predicting the union of foreign nations that would take place in Christ. Isaiah spoke in this way," unquote. 39th homily on the Annunciation. Thus, on a spiritual level, the wicked, i.e. the wolves, are transformed into pious lambs. Meanwhile, St. John Chrysostom clarifies that in Scripture, the wolf represents the predatory rich and the lamb represents the poor. Therefore, during the blink of Orthodox Christianity after World War III, St. Cosmas' words will be fulfilled both spiritually and in everyday life. Prophecy 61. First, a false Roman state will come. Do not believe in it. It will retreat. Prophecy 62. The 1,000-ship fleet will gather at Sakaloma, and red-coated soldiers will come to fight for you. Prophecy 52, footnote 52. We speak of a 1,000-ship navy. This isn't limited to our own vessels. It refers to an international fleet of like-minded nations cooperating on security operations around the globe. Prophecy 63, and here we get back to the red apple. The Turks will leave, but they will return again and reach as far as Axamilia. In the end, they will be driven to the red apple tree. 1/3 of the Turks will be killed, 1/3 will be baptized, and 1/3 will reach the red apple. So exactly what I was mentioning earlier. And this has footnotes 53 and 54. So let's read those. 53, 6-mile location. It says regarding Examilia. And then 54 reads, Red Apple Tree, a place that enslaved Greeks envisioned deep within Great Asia. See also Prophecy 30. And that's what, remember, I brought this up here. So those that are from Greece are going to know a little bit more about the red apple tree and how that works than I do. But it's not for certain, but it's, it's speculated that it may be in Persia, it may be in ancient Babylonia, so like modern day Iraq or something like that. It's not sure, but the surviving Turks, the third that survive, that's where they're going to flee, where the third that convert, I mean, they'll survive too, but they'll convert to Orthodoxy. Prophecy 64. So many terrible things will happen that mothers will give birth prematurely from fear. Prophecy 65. There will be no animals left. They will be eaten. You should eat them too. You will find new livestock in Somerka. And then footnote 55 reads, those who can should flee to high mountains away from road. The Albanian manuscript says there will be no horses left. You will go with them. You will reestablish their breed from Tuzmerka. Prophecy 66. Do not build big homes. Build yards with fences so they cannot enter. And then footnote 56 reads, St. Kosmas explains that those who own large and luxurious houses will lose them when war breaks out, as they will be occupied or turned into military headquarters, just as happened during World War I and World War II. Instead, build enclosed courtyards with gates to prevent easy access. Prophecy 67, they will impose heavy and unbearable taxes, but they will not have time to collect them. Footnote 57 reads, something major will happen like the outbreak of a great war. The next two prophecies confirm this. Taxes skyrocketed after Greece joined the EEC, now the European Union, and continue to rise. Prophecy 68, they will tax chickens and windows. 58, domestic animals and homes, this has already happened, meaning events are close. Only military conscription remains yet to be fulfilled. Prophecy 69, they will also try to conscript you into the army, but they will not have time. And then footnote 59 reads, the Allies are planning more peacekeeping wars. During NATO's bombing of Serbia, U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright said similar interventions would continue for 25 to 50 years, but God's plans are different. And we can hear the same rhetoric right now with Ukraine and Russia. Sounds like Trump and Putin are making arrangements and that direct flights between the U.S. and Moscow are getting ready to resume again. Trading and the sanctions are going to be lifted. And so there's real opportunity here between the United States and Russia. But what do we hear from Zelensky? We hear Zelensky, the Khazar president of Ukraine, he wants NATO peacekeeping forces. What does that mean? That means NATO soldiers in Ukraine up against the Eastern Territory that Russia controls. That's not going to happen. That's non-negotiable, right? Russia is not going to allow Ukraine to enter NATO. But as the footnotes here read, this has to do with this perpetuation of war, this just ongoing war in reference to Madeleine Albright that is going to continue for 25 to 50 years. Okay. Next one, Prophecy 70. The Turks will learn the secret 3 days earlier than the Christians. Footnote 60. It reads, the Albanian manuscript reads, the Turks will realize in 3 days earlier than the Christian. This may refer to a new conflict involving our region, possibly the Aegean continental shelf and Cyprus, which will develop overtly with military presence such as NATO ships and soldiers serving foreign interests. The Turks, being more networked and experienced in such matters, will understand its purpose before we do. Prophecy 70. When you hear that the war has started from below, then it is near. And then footnote 61, he says begins below. It's referencing the south. Prophecy 71. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the one I just read. Prophecy 72. If the war starts from below, you will suffer little. If it starts from above, you will be destroyed. And this is footnote 62, 63, and 64. So 62 is the Greeks. 63, when it's above, is referencing the north. And then footnote 64 reads, the cause or the spark will come from the north, specifically the Dalmatia Kosovo region, just as it did when the NATO intervention in 1999. This marks the beginning of an east-west clash of interests under the New World Order, and the South will inevitably be drawn into it. Prophecy 73, the rocks and pits will be filled with people. 74, it will come suddenly, either the ox in the field or the horse at the threshing floor. Footnote 65 reads, October or July is what that references. Now moving to the next page here, Prophecy 75 reads, it pains me to tell you, today, tomorrow, we expect great thirst, great famines, where we will offer thousands of gold coins and not find a piece of bread. Footnote 66 reads, the manuscript reads, quote, the fountains will dry up and the rivers will become polluted. The Claviopolu manuscript reads, a time will come when great thirst will strike and the devil will go around with his pumpkins full of water. He will only give it to his own. This mainly refers to the time of the Antichrist when people will bear the mark or a chip. Prophecy 76. After the war, people will travel half an hour just to find another person and make them a brother. Footnote 67. In some places, like Turkey, things will be even worse. Elder Paisio said, there you will have to walk 7 hours to find another person. Prophecy 77. Do not plant vineyards, for they will be destroyed like those in Dryonopolis. Prophecy 78. A paper kingdom will be established, which will have a great future in the east. Footnote 68. Another manuscript reads small rather than great. Oh, interesting discrepancy. Prophecy 79. People will become so poor that they will tie their hands with vine branches. Prophecy 80. The cause will come from Delicia. And then that's a footnote 69, and it reads, prophecy number 101 in the Triantafialu manuscript reads, the very great war will begin from a small country. Prophecy 102 reads, the war will start from a small Ottoman state. The Greeks will enter the war last as undertakers. In the end, the Christians will win. Prophecy 108 reads, when war breaks out in Dalmatia and a marked man appears, one who leads in corruption, the end of the world will be near. Prophecy number 81. France will liberate many Greek territories, especially the Italians. 82. France will liberate Greece and Italy will liberate Epirus. Footnote 70. Epirus is in northwest Greece. Prophecy 83. Through three narrow passes, Cropsy, and Muzina, many armies will pass on their way to the city of Constantinople. It is best for women and children to flee to the mountains. They will ask you if the city is far. Do not tell them the truth, or they will mistreat you. This army will not reach the city. Midway, they will learn that the war is over. And then footnote 71 is a long footnote that reads, this suggests that forces will pass through these areas in Albania, intending to capture Constantinople, which by then will already be under Russian control and defended against Western forces. This army is likely reinforcements consisting of reservists from Western countries. It is wise to remain silent about what is happening and not reveal what we know from the prophecies. Another manuscript states, quote, from 3 narrow passes, armies will pass toward the city. They will ask you how far it is. You should say it is close, because they will be tired and may harm you. Another version says, filthy armies from the western lands will pass through asking where the city is, whether it is near. Those who say it is near will be left alone. Those who say it is far will be killed. This suggests that these troops will be unwilling to hear about a prolonged war and will not tolerate opinions different from their own. Yet another prophecy warns, quote, woe to those in the plains. Filthy nations will come. Do not fear them when they arrive. Fear them when they leave, unquote. This means they will be immoral and stubborn. Be cautious and keep your distance. The most dangerous moment will be when they withdraw after the war ends. Looks like somebody just sent in a super chat. Michael and Adriana White throws in 5. Thank you so much, Michael and Adriana. Really appreciate the support. God bless you guys. Blessed Lent to you. Okay, next one. Prophecy 84. A time will come when the devil will go around with his pumpkin. So this one says satellites. Interesting. 85. You will see some people going up and others going down. 86. Freedom will come from below, from where the water flows. Footnote 73. This happened in the Greek Revolution in some areas and also in Egypt at the Nile with its abundant waters. At El Almian, associated with St. Minas, Rommel was defeated, decided the outcome of the Second World War. Very interesting. 87. Prophecy 87. From above and from the stairway, do not expect destruction. So footnote 74 and 75, they read 74 Scala. 75 is in the Calivio Popolu manuscript. The word not is rendered as to, and this is the correct reading. It accurately reflects what occurred during the wars of liberation from the Turkish yoke, as well as during the First and Second World Wars. And then the last one, 88 here, one loaf of bread will be lost in half and another completely. Prophecy 89, a time will come when a woman will drive away 10 Turks with her spindle. Footnote 76 and 77, a tool used in spinning wool. And then 77 reads, when the Russians swiftly and unexpectedly conquer Turkey, Turkish military units stationed abroad will realize they no longer have a homeland. At that point, they will not know where to hide. Prophecy 90, the curse the Pope, for he will be the cause. Footnote 78. The Pope and the Vatican as a state intervene everywhere to further their interest. In fact, the Pope has already openly expressed support for the New World Order, which has fueled bloodshed in many countries long before the final devastation of the Third World War. Notably, St. Kosmas prophetically rules out any possibility of the Pope repenting or renouncing his falsehood, for only demons remain unrepentant. Very interesting. Prophecy 91, the destruction of the land will come from an official with a certain name. And then footnote 79, the name is illegible on the manuscript, perhaps made so intentionally. Prophecy 92, many villages will be destroyed, 3 countries will become one. Prophecy 93, have 3 doors. If they take one, escape through another. Prophecy 94, if one hides behind a door, they will survive. It will be a hurried event. Prophecy 95, pray that it happens during the day and not at night, in summer and not in winter. Prophecy 96, people will become poor because they do not love the trees. Prophecy 98, people will become poor because they will become lazy. Prophecy 98, destruction will come from above, from within the harbor. And then footnote 80 reads, This was also demonstrated at Pearl Harbor during the Second World War. 99 reads, they will throw a lot of money at you, but when they ask to take it back, they will not be able to. Footnote 81 reads, elsewhere it is written, they will not have time. Large financial aid packages and loans will be given to control us economically. However, due to major event, likely the outbreak of the Great War, they will not manage to take their money back. This aligns with Prophecy 67. They will impose a heavy and unbearable tax, but they will not have time to collect it. Prophecy 100. You will save others, and others will save you. 101. You will flee to the left side mountains, not to the right. Do not be afraid of the caves. 102. It will come suddenly. The horses will remain harnessed as at their work, and you will flee. Footnote 82 reads, people will leave so urgently, they will leave their lights, AC, ovens, etc. on. 103, it will happen in the 8th century. 8th, and then it says great century. Footnote 83 reads, the 8th great century refers to the period between the years 7,000 and 8,000 from Adam. Since Christ was born in the year 5,508 from Adam, the year 1992 corresponded to 7,500 years, according to this reckoning by the Church Fathers, which differs from the Jewish calendar, according to which it was 5,752. Thus, the year 2025 AD is counted as 7,533 years since Adam. 104. Hide either near the door or near the stone slab, if it happens suddenly and quickly. Footnote 84 reads, to escape quickly. 105, many things will happen. Cities will end up like shanty towns. And then Prophecy 106, a time will come when the cursed demon will come out of its shell. Footnote 85 is a long one. And it reads, technology, especially televisions, will be used by the Antichrist and his people to deceive the world with the hidden cooperation of evil spirits who will conceal their malice and perform deceptive false miracles. The connection between technological devices and demonic forces will become so close that the device will correspond to the shell and the demonic force to the creature living inside it. Television will be the starting point of the deception because it will be demonic spirits playing the role of deceivers. It will even be possible to have live, quote, live conversations without a television being turned on or even present. However, to avoid frightening people too soon, the evil spirits will first use technological devices. Due to the world's general apostasy from God, Satan will be unleashed, as Revelation states, and demons will gain power over men as in the pre-Christian era. They will find the most suitable broadcasters who will be their puppets, and through them, not only by reason, but also by demonic suggestion, they will convince people through television of the necessity of a global ruler for world peace. Then they will present this candidate, i.e. the Antichrist, who in cooperation with evil spirits will appear capable and powerful, instilling in the minds of every viewer the impression that he is the charismatic leader humanity needs. He will perform miracles, suggested miracles, and it continues here. We'll read all this. In general, he will project his illusions into all screens, creating the impression of divine power in his favor. The results will be so terrifying that only the elect Christians will escape, probably because they will not own a television. After his initial acceptance, the forces of evil will become even bolder. This is likely what St. John the theologian means in Revelation when he says that the false prophet will cause the image of the beast, the Antichrist, to speak live. This is even more terrifying because after the Antichrist is accepted as the global leader, things will have progressed for the worse and devices will no longer even be necessary as a means of deception. Today, with television and projectors, it is not impressive for an image to, quote, speak, especially with LCD screens and now resemble framed pictures. But the false prophet will not be using, quote, known devices at the time. People today are not deceived by televisions that look like picture frames because they live in a technological age. Much less will future generations be fooled. The image of the beast that will deceive the world in Revelation will not speak relying primarily on technology, but through magical, supernatural imposition on every non-believing viewer. Then, for example, even simple paintings of the Antichrist will be placed at strategic locations on streets and squares. And from there, the depicted figure will suddenly come to life, appear three-dimensional, influencing the imagination of the non-elect, and command people to worship him and receive his mark. Prophecy 107. A false prophet will come once. Do not believe him and do not rejoice in him. He will leave again and will not return. Prophecy 108. A time will come when Christians will rise up against one another. Prophecy 109. Have a cross on your forehead so that you may be recognized as Christians. And then footnote 86 reads, especially in the areas with Muslims, it is necessary for Christians to have the cross in a visible place so that they are not mistakenly struck by the liberation forces. Again, this is where the Orthodox priest that I'm going to show you guys here in just a bit, he was talking about making sure you cross yourself publicly so that the liberated forces will know that you're Orthodox. Prophecy 110. The army will not reach the city, Constantinople. Midway, the news will come that the desired event has arrived. Footnote 87. It's another, this is a long footnote. And prophecy 32 of the Triantafilou manuscript, St. Cosmas declared, quote, the great battle will take place in the city. All nations will gather there, and so much blood will be spilled that a calf will swim in it. The blonde race will emerge victorious. We will be with the blonde race, unquote. Note this does not imply that the Greeks will become military allies with the Russians, i.e. the blonde race. As noted elsewhere and supported by Elder Paisios of the Holy Mountain, they will remain independent, though emotionally united as Orthodox people. The war's leaders will pursue earthly conquest with materialistic and predatory motives. And while Russia may not prevail in every phase of the war, as other prophecies suggest, in the end, Orthodoxy, long persecuted, will triumph and be proclaimed worldwide. And prophecy 75, St. Cosmas is reported to have spoken in Caria of Mount Olympus, quote, a time will come when the Russian race will come down to go to the Jews, where a war will take place, and a 3-year-old calf will be drenched in blood. It will be a regular army. You will not suffer anything from them, but from the rabble you will suffer much. If they pass through Avlona, rejoice. Rejoice for Macedonia. If they pass through Macedonia, woe to Macedonia. A great evil will occur, unquote. Note, the troops passing by either the Egnatia route to Macedonia or near Vlora, Albania, will be reserved from Western armies destined to fight the Russians. Particularly after the war, these forces, disintegrating into rebel groups, perhaps alongside local gangs, will plunder indiscriminately. Therefore, it is far better if they do not pass through Macedonia, northern Greece. Prophecy 103 reads, when the Egnatia road is built, the armies will pass through it. The head of the armies will reach Constantinople, and the tail will be in Vlora. Around 1875, when the Virgin Mary appeared in the village of Armenio, near the border of Larissa and Magnesia regions, she informed the villagers through a simple shepherd about a buried holy spring in the area. This was indeed found, and a church dedicated to the life-giving spring was built. She also said that buried in the earth remains an icon of hers, the first of the 3 painted by the evangelist Luke during her lifetime. However, she did not allow the shepherd named Ioannis to reveal the location of the icon to the workers when they were digging. But she did say that the icon would be found after the Great War, when Constantinople is reduced to dust and only 1/3 of humanity remains. Ioannis also said that the war would happen when Avlona opens. Avlona in northern Epirus first opened in 1991 with the fall of Enver Hoxha's regime. It was a port without a road, but now the Para Ignatia, which starts from there and extends to Burgas, Bulgaria, is nearly completed, perhaps a matter of just a few years or even months, as is Greece's own Agnatia. So beautiful clarity there in the footnotes. Prophecy at 111. Go, and on the road you will be rewarded. Footnote 88. At Dervistani, it was reported that a man who made ironic remarks about the saint was later wounded on his journey by one of his enemies. Tell those idols not to come here, but to turn back. Footnote 89. While teaching in Assos, the saint paused his sermon for a moment and sent one listener to the local ruler's house with a message. This man then left and encountered 4 aristocratic ladies dressed indecently who were on their way to attend the saint's preaching. Prophecy 113. You build ornate houses, but you will not live in them. Footnote 90 reads, the saint spoke these words in Assos while passing through a newly constructed house soon after all its owners died, except for one nun. Prophecy 114. This child will prosper, govern Greece, and be glorified. Footnote 91. This was said about Ioannos Koletis, who later became governor. And then prophecy 115. You will become a great man. You will conquer all of Albania, subdue Preveza, Praga, Soli, Delvino, Gardiki, and even Kurt Pasha's palace. You will leave a great name in the world, and you will go to the city, but the Redbeards. This is the will of divine providence. However, throughout your rule, remember to love and protect Christians if you wish your power to remain with your successors. Footnote 92. This was spoken in Tepelini about the Ali Pasha. His severed head was taken to the city, and his beard was stained red with blood. Prophecy 116. Things will come out of schools that the mind cannot imagine. We already see in that for sure. Transgenderism. Did you guys see what was it? Connecticut? Connecticut, in their Congress or their House, they wanted to install condom and sex machines, vending machines, as low as first grade. First grade, they're trying to put sex vending machines in schools. I'm not even kidding. So, boy, is that not the case. Things will come out of the schools that the mind cannot imagine. Prophecy 117. You will see a carriage in the plains without horses, running faster than a hare. Prophecy 118. And obviously that's a reference to cars. So this is, again, one of the prophecies regarding automobiles. You will see a carriage in the plains without horses running faster than a hare. This is one of the prophecies about technological advance in automobiles. 118. A time will come when the land will be girded with a thread. Footnote 93 reads, spoken at Assos, it refers to telecommunication wires. Prophecy 119. A time will come when people will speak from one distant place to another as if they were in adjacent rooms. For example, from the city to Russia. Footnote 94. This is most likely about telecommunications, using phones or the internet. It could also be regarded modern apartment living and contemporary mentality. The saint also remarked, Prophecy 79, a time will come when people will shut themselves in large boxes and their parents will die alone in small boxes. Prophecy 120. You will see people flying in the sky like blackbirds, dropping fire upon the world. Those who live then will run to the graves and cry out, come out, you dead. so that we, the living, may enter. And so here we see again a prophecy referencing airplanes in the mid 18th century and bombs, aerial bombs. So this is way before their existence. Prophecy 95, or footnote 95 reads, the 5 consecutive prophecies, 116 through 120, of the saint clearly refer to the great inventions of our century. The cars without horses represents trains and motor vehicles. The thread that winds around the world symbolizes communication cables. The blackbirds that will throw fire upon the earth are the aircraft and the Air Force. Remarkably, these prophecies by St. Kosmas were recorded in books about a century before the corresponding inventions appeared. Oh, and prophecy 121, the evil will come up to the cross and will not be able to go further down. Do not be afraid. Do not leave your homes. Footnote 96. This was said in the region of Polinarion. Indeed, in 1940, the Italians reached the location called Stavros, where the saint had preached, and stopped there. And then our last prophecy here, 122, when the branch where the cross stands falls, a great evil will come from the direction it points. And when the tree falls, an even greater evil will come. And then footnote 97 reads, this was said in the village of Tsarki, now called Agios, Kosmas in Grevna. Indeed, in 1940, the branch of the cross fell towards Albania, from where the Italians attacked, and in 1947, the tree fell when the area was completely destroyed during the Greek Civil War. And then here's some additional footnotes that the Eschaton Vigil put together. Guys, smash that like. And I want to remind everybody, if you want to have this document, the Eschaton Vigil has provided the opportunity. You guys can literally download this document for free. All you do is give us your email address. I'm going to share that link with you guys again. Here it is right here. Right here. Click that link, go to the website, and you can download this document for your own edification. Keep it in your library, print it off. And as I said, we're also going to be doing one, which I think may be turned into a book. We're not sure yet, but we're going to be covering just the prophecies of St. Paisios in another stream in the near future. But here's some additional notes. Regarding moral transgression, the saint is recorded as saying, we will see and experience Sodom and Gomorrah in our country. This statement refers to homosexuality. For instance, according to a news report in January of 27, 2006, the European Parliament has recently taken steps to expose what it sees as corruption of Europe. The report stated, the European Parliament is leading the legal effort to establish the perversion and its protection in EU countries, apparently setting as a standard the ethical principles of Sodom and Gomorrah. It promotes resolutions supporting homosexuality. In this context, MEPs voted for a proposal of a joint resolution of the political groups with 468 votes in favor and 149 against and 41 abstaining. With this resolution, any discrimination based on sexual orientation is condemned, and member states are urged to ensure the protection of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people from homophobic hate speech and violence. The report further noted the member states and the Commission must also intensify efforts through educational means in schools, universities, and the media, and adopt administrative, legislative, and legal measures against homophobia. In other words, even children may be subject to a progressive and forceful imposition of what is termed sodomitic education. In the land of the blind, the one who sees is forbidden. However, just as the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah were punished by fire, so too will those transgressions be punished in the coming Third World War. This is a message that ought to be taught in schools as well. Let us recall the words of Elder Sophrony of Mount Athos and later of Essex regarding the end times. Quote, When the new children who are born are so distorted that they can no longer know the true God, then the end will come. The advanced corruption validates St. Cosmas's early description of the filthy nations and filthy crowds of Asperia places, terms referring to the troops that will stand against the Russians. And how Kid Iki, where the St. Cosmas taught, elders whose testimony was passed down by Captain Mr. Paraskevas, recount that when the saint was asked about the timeline of events in the city, he provided two preceding signs. One, the villages will be united, and two, Caravasaurus and Athos will flourish. Here, Caravasaurus refers to a region of Mount Athos resembling a small cape between Daphne and Simon Petra Monastery. Today, the villages have been united not through increased population density, but through administrative consolidation, first under the Capodistrias plan and later under the Callicrates plan. Moreover, the once barren area of Cravasaurus is now populated not by crops, but by cells of Russian monks. In fact, President Putin himself expressed interest in them during his 2005 visit to Mount Athos. Thus, both of these prophetic points have been fulfilled. Source notes: the above text and details are primarily drawn from St. Kosmas Aetolios by Metropolitan Augustin Cantiotis, as edited by the Orthodox Missionary Brotherhood of the Cross. Additional prophecies have been incorporated from key sources: the prophecies of St. Kosmas of Aetolius in history, and St. Cosmas the Aetolius life and prophecies. The explanatory note were provided by monk Leontios of Dionysiou Monastery of Mount Athos during 2005 and early 2006. The text was originally translated from Greek to English in 2011 by monk Leontios. So again, guys, that is an overview of our document here. Go download it, keep it in your notes. You can have it for free. Just provide the Eschaton Vigil with your email address. That's all you need. So pretty interesting stuff, right? Again, guys, this is all coming from the mid 18th century, the 1700s. And so Austin DeTulio throws in $20. Thank you very much, Austin, for your support. Blessed Lent to you. And let me just check if anybody sent any questions or comments on the Dono chat or in Streamlabs. Okay. Now, with that being said, I want to get to this video. Pretty cool video. This is of a Greek. Is he a monastic? I think he's a priest. He attended. No, he is a monk. So this is a Greek monk talking about the prophecies of Saint Cosmas in the Islamic invasion of Europe. So I'm going to start this here. I am about to bust my freaking bladder. I got to go use the restroom. So here we go. I'm going to play. Yes. I'm going to play this for you guys, and starting about right here.
There are times when we were living in the apocalyptic era. That is the last times, the age of the great apostasy. One of the most important topics of discussion for Orthodox Christians relates to the end times. We are aware that many of the saints prophesied of the last times, which is a source of inspiration and strengthening for the people of this era. However, much of these writings exist in their native language, either Greek or Russian, and only a small portion of them have been translated into English. Saint Neelis the Merstreamer of Mount Athos is one of the prominent saints that prophesied of the last times. All of us are very well familiar with his prophecies. Saint John of Kronstadt spoke at some length concerning the end times. But among all of these saints, the most notable is Saint Kosmas of Aetolia. Saint Kosmas of Aetolia was a monk from Mount Athos who left the holy mountain and began teaching the Greek people how to live a pious Orthodox life under the Turkish yoke, a very, very difficult period for the Greek nation. And in the course of his preaching, he uttered a prolific number of prophecies, and many of these have been recorded in Greek. A very small portion of them have been translated into English. We are asking Father Athanasius now to share with us his knowledge of these prophecies that he has read in the original Greek, which are numerous and which we think will be of great benefit to the church.
Yes, Despota.
With that, may God bless you.
Eυλόγησον. Yes, there are many prophecies that Saint Kosmas has left. Many of them have been fulfilled already. Many. There are still some that we're still waiting for their fulfillment. For instance, when the Greek people were occupied by the Turks, by the barbarian Muslims, they were desiring and longing for the freedom. And very frequently they would ask Saint Kosmas, when will the longing be fulfilled? When we will be freed? In one occasion he said, as he was preaching, and there were two trees in front of him, he says, when the two trees come together, when the branches join together, that's when the desirable will happen. And it did. In another instance, he was asked again the same question. And he says, when two Paschalies fall together. Now, I'm sure you are aware of what Paschalies means. It is called Kyrios Pascha, which is the Annunciation and Holy Pascha falling together on the same day. And that is when the Greek population uprised against the Turks, and they gained their freedom.
What year was that?
That was in 1821. And he was saying this here 100 years earlier, in 1771.
Amazing.
100 years earlier, yes. There are many prophecies that they are still pending. There are a few that have to do with the situation in Greece. He was telling people back then to build schools and educate the people, because the time, he says, will come that the people will be illiterate. The Greek people will be illiterate in the faith and in grammar education.
Secular knowledge.
Secular knowledge is happening today, right today. There are children now in the schools in Greece that they have no knowledge whatsoever at all that back in 1821 our forefathers rised against the Turks. Their children, they do not know that our country was occupied by the Turks for over 400 years. And that's what Saint Kosmas was talking about. Another case, he was asked, will the Turks leave? Yes, they will leave, but be aware, they will come back again in this prophecy. And he says, when they will come back, you will not fight them. You will not be able to fight them. They will take the country over. They'll stay either 3 days, either 3 months, or 3 years. He says, you will not be able to throw them out of the country, but I advise you to, when you see it's another army that will come to fight for you, the army that will come, they will believe in Christ, they will not speak your language. And I advise for you to, when you see the army coming, when you see the soldiers coming, as soon as you see them, to make your cross so they don't kill you for Turks. Because we have similar facial features. So not exactly, but somewhat close. So when you see this army coming, in order for them to distinguish you that you are not Turks, you are not Muslims, you are Orthodox, you make you cross, so they won't kill you. In another prophecy, he says just about the same basic thing as I said here, but he says, paint the crosses in your forehead. Wherever you go, walk with the crosses in your forehead, so you will be seen and not be killed as Turks.
Did St. Cosmas reveal who that army was?
Oh yes. He said the army will come. It will be the blonde race. The blonde race. Well, the only blonde race we have is from the north. It's the Russian army.
Yes.
That's and that is very. He says in another case, in another situation, they asked them how far the Turks will come. They will come all the way by the Examilia. It's a small village outside of Corinth. They will come as far as, he says, Examilia, deep in the heart of Greece. Corinth is beyond the heart of Greece, beyond Athens. So they will come as far as there, but you will not be able to throw them out. When the blonde race army comes, they will chase the Turks for you all the way to the red apple tree. A territory that's called apple tree, which is beyond Ankara, way back in the depths of near the borders of Persia. He says that 1/3 of Turks will be killed, 1/3 will be chased back to the depths of Asia, the red apple tree, and 1/3 will become Orthodox. The 1/3 they will believe. At this time, when the blonde army will come, the women will be chasing the Turks with their knitting apparatus. They were making thread. There is an apparatus that they would put the wool on it, and they will pull the wool and spin it, and it's called roca. And it's just a simple stick.
Yes.
Yeah. The woman will be chasing the Turks with a roca stick, and they will be running from the woman. They will be so frightened from the Orthodox, from Orthodoxy, that they will be running, trying to escape the wrath that is coming upon them.
Why many of the prophecies that you've mentioned so far are connected specifically with the expulsion of the Turks. Why was this something so meaningful for the Greeks of the 18th century?
Because we were occupied. There is a big misconception, and especially here in this country, when people hear of Islam, they have been made to believe that Islam is a faith of peace. They have made to believe that Islam it's a good thing. No. Islam is not the faith of peace. Orthodoxy is the faith of peace. Our Lord came and he said, of course, as you know, that's what but I'm saying this for the reference.
Yes.
Whoever wishes to come after me, be with me, let him deny himself, lift up his cross, and follow me. By choice. Our Lord called everyone, you have a choice. The Turkish faith, Islam in general, it is not like that. Islam rules by the sword. Orthodoxy rules by the cross of the Lord, and Islam rules by the sword of the prophet.
Yes.
And it doesn't give you no choice. You either follow or you get your head cut off.
Yes.
We have millions and upon millions of martyrs through the time of the Constantinople's fall, all the way until 1821, and in many places in Greece, even way past 1921, even in 1923. Massacres through the whole time, ravaging, pillaging, murdering, torturing,
Yes.
Torturing women, taking the babies out of their bellies, cutting the breasts,
Lord have mercy.
taking and defiling the daughters and their wives in front of their husbands, tie up their husbands and the brothers, and defiling their sisters and their wives in front of them, and then murdering everybody. There is nothing peaceful about Islam. God have mercy on us, for we have people here in high offices that are praising Islam. No, Islam is not a faith to be praised. And Saint Kosmas had spoken about that many, many times. Besides many.
Before we get into the continue on here, we got a few super chats. Again, if you guys want to support my work, please send in a super chat using Streamlabs, Dono Chat, or YouTube. And we have a few here on YouTube. And if you're feeling generous, please give some COTEL Crew memberships. Like I said, I'll be putting out a members-only video tomorrow on Donald Trump and Cyrus the Great comparison. Mikot throws in a super chat, says, when I was younger, dumb, stoned, and exploring typical neo-hippie psychedelic hogwash, I watched my Universe channel. Now I see you here, listen to you, and wait for my bishop's green light to convert. Well, glory to God, brother. That's so what he's referring to. I used to have the YouTube channel Fractal Universe, spelled as he puts it there, YOUNIVERSE. It was about each, the idea was that the universe is fractal and it's representative of each one of us being a sort of microcosm. And so, yeah, we were all dumb, stoned, and exploring all that neo-hippie psychedelic hogwash. So glory to God, Mikot, that both of us now are on the right path, the golden path of holy orthodoxy. So thank you so much, brother, for the support. Really appreciate that. And GSP throws in $6.99 and says, thank you for your work, brother. Well, thank you. Please pray for my mother, Anissa, and my friend's uncle, Nagi. They have cancer. Well, sorry to hear for that. I will keep them in my prayers tonight. Thank you very much, GSP. Josiah Elleron, shout out to you, brother. He says, God bless you, Dave. Well, thank you. God bless you, and blessed Lent to you, Josiah. Really appreciate it. And GSP throws in another one, says, love this channel. Thank you. Have a blessed Lent. You have a blessed Lent as well, brother. And God bless your family and your mother. I will absolutely say a prayer for her tonight. So thank you very much for that. Anyways, let's get back to our video.
Many other things. One thing that the Turks did, they were trying to deprive the Greek population from education. St. Kosmas went to many places. He says, well, since in this place here you have too many churches, but you have no school, use the church for a school. Educate your children. Educate them in the faith. Educate them in your language, which was a good thing. They were being taught the faith right inside the church. Why you have, he says, the church is closed, open them up and make them schools.
And this is something I was talking with the Eschaton Vigil last night. We were talking about the need for Orthodox parishes here in America to actually create Orthodox schools. And there are a handful around, very successful parishes have already been moving in that direction. But we know, we've talked about 1,000 times, I'm not going to belabor it, but Orthodoxy is absolutely on the rise in all the Western world, but most specifically in America right now. And thousands of people are converting to Holy Orthodoxy. And with that, we need to think about how it is that we preserve the faith and how our faith engages in the secular world. And I'm just echoing St. Kosmas and his call for Orthodox education and being reiterated right here in this video. But something that we all need to think about, and I'm going to do a stream in the future talking about this topic specifically, but we need to think about how our parishes, especially if you're in a successful parish, how the laity can get involved in creating primary education for children. We need to not be giving our children over to the secular demonic world. As St. Cosmas said, the mind won't be able to comprehend the things that come out of schools. Well, we're here. We're living in that period. We're in that time right now. And we as the Orthodox faithful need to think about, obviously all of our parishes aren't in the same place, but we need to think about education. And if you want to be a teacher, maybe a primary teacher, maybe, one of my goals and my dreams in the future is like a new Orthodox university. And I would love, one of the things, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm leaving this up to God's providence. But if somebody was actually had the money to establish something, I would absolutely want to join. I'm sure Father Deacon, but, some of the seminaries, and I'm not going to say any particular ones, but some of the theological schools, some of the universities that are Orthodox have already been a little bit corrupted, moving a little bit more towards the worldly progressive ethos, the zeitgeist of our day. And if there was a truly Orthodox, traditionally Orthodox university, and then we had primary schools of various parishes around the country, and maybe even in high schools, but you'd have to be in a place that was highly dense regarding Orthodox people to do something like that. But a university could be a little bit more remote than some of the other educational structures. But I think that's a glorious thing that we should be thinking about in the future. And this is echoing literally straight from St. Cosmas and what he was trying to do is in founding schools, Greek schools, so that the people could learn the Greek language, the kids could learn the language, learn the faith of the church. And that's something that we should feel called to right now in the 21st century, in 2025 in America. Is, one of the things, if we're going to talk about some of the shortcomings of the church here in America, it's that it's not as involved in the general culture when it comes to charities, hospitals, and general education. You look at the Catholics and the Protestants, and they've had a lot more time and a lot more resources and a lot more people to build these things. But now it's kind of our time. It's our golden age. It's our opportunity to, as we grow, to think about how we can actually build educational centers and maybe hospitals in the future, universities, these types of things, and engage the American culture from the Orthodox phronema and not allowing it to be subverted by the ethos and the zeitgeist of contemporary culture.
And another thing he was saying, he says, build big colindithres, big baptismal funds. Says, baptize your children, baptize the adults, because there were many adults not baptized because the Turks did not allow it. Mm-hmm. So build big baptismal funds and make the churches into schools, educate your children.
I believe that St. Kosmas himself suffered martyrdom under the hands of the Turks.
Yes. When he's preaching up to the point that the Turks could not stand him anymore, they, the Jews of the area instigated the Turks, mm-hmm. and the Turks took the saint and they hung him. They executed him by hanging. Mm-hmm. And then they took his body and they threw it in the river. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the next day or 3 days later, the locals, the Orthodox people, they were looking to see where he was, where his body was at. Mm-hmm. And his body was floating in the river, standing straight up. My. Floating down the river and straight up. Not laying down, standing position.
Glory to God.
Glory to God. And they went and collected his body and buried it with honors. There is another little thing that I have to come back and say here.
Please.
One more of his prophecies.
Please.
One of the Turkish pashas, he was Ali Pasha. He was in Epirus, in Ioannina, where my father came from. Mm. And Saint Kosmas was being very, very, I should say, cautious with Pasha, but he had communication with him. He was doing this for the safety of the people. He was playing the role of mediator mm-hmm. for the people. So Pasha respected it, and he was telling him, he says, don't overburden the people under your rule. Try to be as lenient as you can with the people. Don't be rough with the people. Don't be hard with the people. Pasha had a fear of Saint Kosmas. He really respected him. And his wish was to go in Constantinople, Pasha's wish. He says, here on that, he says, I want you to tell me, he says one thing. Will I ever go to Constantinople? And he says, yes, he says, you will go. And you will go with red beard. Well, he was white bearded. He says, you will go and your beard will be red. Well, he didn't understand what he was telling them, but he told them the truth. Well, Pasha was executed by his own people. The Turks executed him. And they took his head in a bag, and they took it to Constantinople to what's the Turks' higher position?
Sublime Port.
Sultan.
Yes.
To the Sultan.
Yes.
To the Sultano. They took, because Sultano ordered his execution. And he said to the executioners, I want you to bring me his head back in Constantinople. So they took his head back in a bag, we call it trova in Greek, village bag, and his beard was truly red from the blood that he had stained it. So this is another prophecy of Saint Kosmas. There is, it's, yes.
Interesting.
Yes. And now it seems that the prophecy of the Turks coming back to Greece seems like it's coming to be fulfilled, because Greece is going now through some very, very bad times, turmoil, chaotic times, anarchy. And this has happened it comes from many ways. There is some of the dark forces. They have said we have to destroy the Greek language and the Orthodox faith to the Greeks. Well, the language was changed from the beautiful polytonic language. It is diminished, it is devaluated to a different language today. And
so Greeks today don't speak. What they're speaking on the street is not what you would read in the literature of the church fathers?
No. If you give someone today a book from the church fathers, they would not know what it means.
Okay.
They could read the words, but they do not know what the meaning of the words. That's how bad the illiteracy that Saint Kosmas said has come. And the point of the faith also, it has come to the point that people have lost their faith, not all of them, but the great majority, they don't care about God, they don't care about the Holy Faith. Another thing.
We had a super chat come in. Just wanted to read that real quick. Harry Sapano sends in a super chat over on Streamlabs and says, St. Kosmas of Aetolia is one of my favorite saints. Both my parents come from that region. Thanks, DPH, for the stream, and God bless you. Well, thank you so much, Harry, for the support. God bless you and your family, and blessed Lent to you guys. So thank you very much for the support.
That is taking place from the enemies. Greece is fought not so much because it's Greece. Greece is fought because Greece was Orthodoxy. Another thing that is happening today, it is being taken over by the Muslims. We have many illegals that come in the country, and they are all Muslims. And they all come from Turkey. They're not necessarily Turks. They are Afghans, Iranians, South Africans, Africans, Somalians, from all different nations, but they're all Muslims. All Muslims. Among all the illegals, they are all Muslims. There's about 5 million illegals now in Greece.
What is the population of Greece?
Almost 10 million.
So you're saying half the population?
Oh, well, 1/3 of the population today is illegal Muslims.
It's an astounding number.
Yes. They have drained the country. They have weakened the country. And all of what is happening today, it's purposely created, and mainly from the Muslims, to diminish the country. That's how they're going to gain the country. That's how they're going to take over the country. The country has no finances, has no any kind of significant defenses. So, in St. Kosmas' prophecy, it will come to be fulfilled soon, that the Turks will come and they will go all the way to Examilia, which is outside of Corinth.
You mentioned to us in our discussions earlier this week that in order to learn about it,
and from what I've heard, they even have the call of prayer in Athens. So there's mosque being built in Greece. And like you said, this interview is from 2016. The Muslim invasion of Greece is worse today than it was when this priest was speaking. So it is really a dire situation in Greece. And ultimately, this is all fulfillment of prophecy. And it's tied with the lack of repentance of the Greek people. If the Greek people were actually preserving the Orthodox faith, and it's not that there aren't great Orthodox Christians in Greece. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying generally speaking, and Father's saying this exact same thing right now. Generally speaking, they are moving away from the historical faith, the Orthodox golden path. That is the identity of the Greek nation and the Greek people. And unfortunately, if they weren't falling away, this invasion, the fulfillment of these prophecies may not be occurring right now. And so we have to realize whenever we're talking about prophecies, and I've mentioned this before, whenever we're talking about Orthodox prophecies, it's always tied with the state of repentance of the people that are being described. And so as people come closer to Christ, we can push these dates back. Now, God already knows when it happens. He's outside space and time. But we have to realize that this is always a call for repentance. If you're reading this stuff and maybe it's causing you anxiety, stop. One, you can turn it off. But two, realize it's all about repentance. Pray, fast, go to church, give alms, tithe. These are the ways in which we show our repentance. Go to confession if you haven't. We're in Lent right now, so you should be going to confession at some point to receive the mystery. But this is an opportunity for us not to be fearful of the great war that's looming or the Antichrist, or, be filled with anger all the time because the Greater Israel Project or whatever it may be. No. Let go of that. It's time for you to get closer to Christ. And we as nations of peoples who do that, we push the end times further back. And so unfortunately, that general trend I was telling you that my friend was telling me about, Charzanis, Father is reiterating the same thing really from years earlier. I mean, this is 9 years ago. So we're almost a decade forward and things are getting worse. And we already talked about the legalization of gay marriage in Greece, unfortunately. But with the election of Donald Trump, from what I've heard from people in Greece, and maybe somebody in the chat may be familiar, they've even, the rhetoric of the administration in Greece is kind of pulled back, where they were during Biden era, they were so full force with the progressive narrative of, LGBTQ, yada, 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 all that different stuff, where now there's a nationalistic movement in Europe, really around the world. But that nationalistic movement is also tied with kind of traditional social norms. And in that, we've seen the Greek administration sort of pull back. So God willing, maybe they'll even undo what they did with the legalization of gay marriage in Greece, because it was kind of a humiliation ritual. Because here in the West, it was celebrated. Oh, Greece is the first Orthodox Christian nation to condone. No. And I was really glad to see so many videos come out of Greek clergy, especially monastics in Greece, call this stuff out and say, this is anathema. This is terrible. This is absolutely the opposition of what Christ taught and the ethos of the church. So just wanted to throw that out there, listen to Father talk here.
These things, which are largely hidden from the American populace, which are largely hidden by the American news media. A person actually needs to be watching Greek television, Greek news.
It's not even well, for the news, yes, but for Saint Kosmas's writings, nothing is even mentioned in Greece. There is only a few books existing, and I happen to have 2 books actually. And whatever they were printed out, I don't think the printing presses are printing any more of these books.
Yes.
And this is why it's so important what the Eschaton Vigil is doing, guys. And again, the eschatonvigil.org, right here it is. What our mission is, and I'm very fortunate to be a part of this and help in any way. We are translating these things into English so that the Orthodox world, at least the Anglo-speaking, the English-speaking Orthodox world, can have access to all this different stuff. I mean, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of prophecies, and there's a digital database here. So you can search. If you just want to look up prophecies regarding America, you can say, go to once you're a member, go to the prophecies, put in America, and it will list you, and it'll tell you which saints, when, and what the prophecies are. That is the point of this non-for-profit. That is the point of our mission. Father's speaking here that even in Greece, people don't read St. Cosmas. And even in Greece, they're not reprinting some of these old books. That's why this document that we have here, you can't find this stuff anywhere else, guys. So I'm telling you, let me share that link again. Go to cosmos.eschatonvigil.org and get a free copy by just sharing your email address and being part of the mailing list. That's how important this stuff. This is really like novel stuff in the Orthodox world, guys. Like a lot of people don't have access to this stuff. And even in countries like Greece, people aren't reading it and they're not reprinting it. So this is really novel information that you're getting here. Go to here's the link again. Go to the link. Here's the banner I'll hold up. Get the Cosmos document, cosmos.eschatonvigil.org. Okay.
And I happen to have 2 of these books. Some of these prophecies, they have been translated in English, but a small portion of it, not the full prophecy, a small portion of it. And that is, again, done purposely. It is done so the people will not be educated of what is taking place around them. Purposely kept blind, in one word. We have to educate as much as we can. We have to educate all the people as much as we can so they learn of these prophecies, so they know what is coming. I think many of the Holy Fathers that have passed, all the bishops also, that were saying that when this prophecy comes to be fulfilled, the Third World War will come with it. And we are talking end times. We're talking critical times. When Turkey rises like that against Greece, it's not going to only rise against Greece. It's going to rise against Bulgaria, Romania, possibly other continents around. And that's somehow, we don't know how, but Russia will intervene. But when Russia will intervene, I guess the third will be in process, or will be already in process, or...
Well, just the number of countries you mentioned thus far.
And we're seeing this. The NATO countries are at war against the Orthodox nations. We see, Romania, they're trying to build one of the largest NATO military bases, essentially U.S. military bases right there on the Black Sea. This is all coming together right now, guys. Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying any dates. I'm just saying when this is agreeing with Father here, this is why this stuff is so interesting. This is why it's necessary for the Orthodox faithful to at least know about this stuff, and getting these things translated into English is a huge starter for just having access to this information, so we can see that what's going on with the Greater Israel Project, what's happening in Syria and the expansion of Israel, this is all sort of according to plan. These are not haphazard events. This is a very orchestrated attempt to fulfill prophecy, not our prophecy, but the sort of machinations of Jewish prophecy, that they can sort of fulfill these things based on their own existential efforts, right? It's very different from the way us Orthodox, but the Orthodox saints have prophesied and given us access to the symbols and the signs of the times so that we can be aware of it. And when you look at this war, and I don't know what's going on with Trump and Putin, but there's at least a hopeful sign that this conflict in Ukraine is going to end, which has been absolutely devastating for the Orthodox faithful. And what was the guy named something Amsterdam? He just did a conversation. Jay shared a clip on X on Tucker Carlson talking about how unfortunately Patriarch Bartholomew in 2018-19 was made aware about this plan to create this sort of false Ukrainian Orthodox jurisdiction. And he just posted a message I saw today talking about how we need to, as Orthodox Christians, stand behind President Zelensky, who Metropolitan Neophytos refers to as a Khazar. We're seeing the signs. We're seeing the clergy. We're seeing the patriarchs, and we're seeing a general split. But this Antichrist spirit that is dominated by Zionism is at war with historical Orthodox nations and utilize. I mean, look in Romania with the guy who was running for president. And they basically ended the election because the Western back person wasn't going to win. And so they canceled the elections, and now they're arresting people. I mean, it's just crazy, guys. So we have to realize that this is a spiritual war. Everything that's going on geopolitically has some type of spiritual underpinning to it. Look like somebody sent in some super chats. Let me check those out. Oh, Rachel Wilson throws in 5. Thank you so much, Rach. God bless you and the family. She says, let's get DPH to the goal. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. Do appreciate it. And Austin DeTulio throws in 5. Thank you very much, Austin. Really appreciate you guys. Hauling the Goods. Hey, throws in $5. Says, oh, come on. He says, only if we had a nation that would take repentance seriously like Nineveh. Yeah. But, maybe to some degree, the Trump administration, it is going to give domestic prosperity. And that's kind of the irony. I keep talking about this in these news streams when we're covering everything that's going on with the Trump administration. Is a lot of domestic things I think are good, but it's all tied with this like larger agreement and the powers that be. We have to see this as spiritual. I truly believe, and I can't prove it, this is just my own personal speculation, is that we're seeing an agreement between like Trump's domestic economic agenda, the Greater Israel Project, and the technocrats come together. This is symbolized by, again, the immense Zionism, Trump, and Elon Musk. And, it's providence in one way or another, in the sense that it's moving us closer towards the end times. The Greater Israel Project is that phenomenon. So that's why we have to keep an eye out for that. And that's why, you can't be Orthodox and be a Zionist. It's totally contrary to our faith. We are Israel. Whatever you see in the world as a secular nation, or, call it a secular nation. Tel Aviv is one of the gayest places in the world. So, if you consider Israel secular or not, I guess that's up for debate. But the Jewish nation of Israel, this is a spiritual war. This is a moving towards the Antichrist kingdom. And at the same time, I'm going to potentially, God willing, be able to hopefully provide for my family better. People will have more money. Hopefully housing prices go down. Hopefully illegals are deported from the country. These are good things that could be tied with the general repentance and the growth of orthodoxy that we're seeing in America. But even that being the case, theoretically, let's say that's the case, we're still moving closer towards the end times, and that America is going to become more efficient to build, have domestic energy, which is good. I mean, gas prices are going to go down. Energy costs are going to go down. That's good. But what's that doing? That's allowing the technocracy. Apple just invested $500 billion into the United States. A Taiwanese company has invested billions of dollars to create the chips that we need. people from all over the world are investing billions of dollars. And then Trump just created this new gold Visa card where for $5 million, you can essentially purchase American citizenship. And the idea is that if somebody has $5 million of disposable cash, they must have a business, and therefore they can bring their business to America to increase prosperity, which may or may not be true. I'm not a huge fan of purchasing citizenship. It kind of moves into that general category that people within a nation are just cogs and can kind of be replaced. But this is the irony. Is America getting a little bit of reprieve because we're seeing the increase in Christianity? Like the Pew Research Center just put out their latest survey that came out from the beginning of 2025, saying that for the first time, so there's been a general decline in Christianity in America. But within the last 2 years, essentially since 2020, it began to level out, and now it's moving back up. So for the first time since the general decline of Christianity, and I know that includes Catholicism and Protestantism, but also Orthodoxy, but for the first time, Christianity is actually growing in the United States. And it's mostly young people, driven by young people's interests. Is that God? Is God perceiving that as some type of repentance possibly and bringing sort of domestic prosperity? Where, I don't know. But we got to see also that even with that being the case, there's also players at B that are moving it towards this Antichrist kingdom that's being built in Israel, that he's going to rule from Jerusalem. So anyways, thank you very much. Hauling in the goods. Vigo throws in 10, says, Blessed Lent. Thank you very much, Vigo. God bless you, and blessed Lent to you as well. And Ghost 750X1 throws in 5, says, got to say, love what you do for us with this amazing content. God bless you and everyone at the Eschaton Visual. Well, thank you very much, Ghost. God bless you, brother. Really appreciate your support, my man. And I'm sure the Eschaton Vigil is watching and aware, and I'm sure he appreciates all the support as well. So, guys, go get the books. The Eschatological Visions of the Blessed, Russia Before the Second Coming, Elders on the End Times. These books have never been in English before, guys. So, in just like the little document today that you can get for free, go Kosmos.eschatonvigil.org. I'll pull up the banner again. Like never before has this stuff been in English. So major thank you to the Eschaton Vigil. I'm sure he's watching, and I'm sure he's appreciative of all the support of everybody who signed up for members, anybody who's purchased books. And today you can get the free document of St. Kosmas's prophecies. As Father here talks about, not all of them had been translated into English until right now. We are the first ones that translate all this stuff into English, because if your eyes are open, if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, you can feel that we're close towards the end times. Now, God willing, it's pushed back 1,000 years from now. But at least with the circumstances that we have, it doesn't appear to be so. So keep your eyes peeled, have a repentful heart, journey on this Lenten journey. We're leading up to Pascha. This year, this Pascha, as we've mentioned, is April 20th, and it aligns with the Roman Catholic and the Eastern Orthodox Pascha. This is a very rare event and something that's been prophesied by various elders and saints. So, it is what it is, but keep your eyes open. So thank you very much, Ghost. And Rogue Runner throws in 5. Thank you very much, Rogue Runner. He says, Protestantism being a psyop as we go into the future will be apparent. Absolutely. I've talked about this with Rachel Wilson. Protestantism is going to die. It is going to die, guys. It lacks mysticism. And anyways, let me finish your comment now. Protestantism being a psyop as we go into the future will be apparent. Subversion of the mind seeking Christ as a tactic of the enemy. God bless all. Absolutely. So we already see Protestantism is where the Zionism is being, this is the focal point in Christian Zionism is in these Protestant evangelical movements. I'm now seeing even Catholics. What was the guy? I forget his name, Misfit or something. I saw a clip. He debated some goofball who was apparently a Catholic Zionist, and the dude had no biblical understanding, no theological foundation to even build these arguments from. But historically, even the Catholic Church recognized that the church is Israel. The church is Zion. So Zionism and this new Schofield dispensationalist understanding of Israel, this is a machination of the evil one. And Protestantism doesn't have mysticism. Protestantism, the only mysticism they have is like emotionalism. And I saw Sam Shamoon, he posted and said that he had a conversation with George Janko, the guy that was formerly with like Logan Paul. And he was in my last news stream where he was comparing like the Eucharist and people who actually believe in the presence in the Eucharist, so Orthodox and Catholics, that he, as a Protestant, could never believe that his God would be in a piece of dirt. That's what he referred to the Eucharist as. Well, Sam Shamoon apparently had a conversation with him, and George Janko is not going to air the convo because apparently he had no idea what he was talking about. He had no biblical reference for his position. And he said, according to Sam, that George, all he had was his emotionalism. He had no like strong theological arguments. He had no biblical basis. All he had was like an appeal to emotion. And he said that he got like kind of like over emotionalized during this conversation and probably felt a little bit embarrassed. And this is one of the reasons why this convo between him and Sam Shamoon apparently is not going to be coming out. But Protestantism's dying. Protestantism is dead. Protestantism is Christianity with an open door to the secular world. The Catholic Church is subverted. The Catholic Church has been a heresy ever since the papacy and the filioque and all those different things. And we're just now seeing the end result of those barren fruits. And so the Catholic Church, it is going to be in lockstep with the New World Order, the one world religion. The only thing that's going to be in opposition is the Orthodox Church. And even within the Orthodox Church, we can see figures, and God forgive me and have repentance on Patriarch Bartholomew, but he's moving the church in the same general direction. He is in lockstep with the New World Order. And this is going to cause serious tension. But the thing is, this is Christ's church. The Orthodox Church is Christ's church, and it will prevail. It will prevail. It is going to be here until the end times, until the return of Christ, guys. So if you find yourself into the Orthodox Church, you found home. You found a place of rest. You found your refuge. You found the ark. And it's only going to grow. And I saw Father Moses just purchased a new territory, has a mansion on. It's like, I don't know how many acres, 12 or 20 acres. I forget exactly how many acres. Beautiful piece of property in North Austin, Texas. This is it's going to be all over American Orthodoxy. And even my small little parish, we are experiencing growth. We are getting ready to purchase, God willing, a new property, and it doesn't have a building on it. It's 14 acres, but we have a vision of eventually building a traditional temple, building a school, building classrooms, building an event space where we can host events and conferences. It's only up from here. Other than, like we said, the machinations of the evil one and the coming of the end time. So, where else is there to be besides the Orthodox Church? Bitter Klinger throws in 5, says, are you suggesting Pastor Paula White doesn't possess the deposit of the faith in her theology? I am insinuating that, Bitter Klinger. Guilty as charged there. Yeah, her prosperity gospel and Zionism. I don't think that's the Christianity that's going to stand the test of time. Let's just put it that way. So anyways, let's just finish up. Sorry about the rant. Let's just finish up the last few seconds of this video.
Are already significant towards a world war.
So that's what they were saying, that when this prophecy comes to be fulfilled, the third world war will come with it, or close to it, which is very significant.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
God preserve us.
That's what.
And the Third World War, it's not going to come from the Ukrainian-Russian war. That thing looks like it's winding down. What looks like is going to happen is that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, he is a Zionist. He actually, in a speech, said he wants to build the third temple. Donald Trump is a Zionist. Everybody in his administration is a Zionist. And so the Third World War is going to come because Europe, and even at Europe, Western Europe, or Europe's at odds with Trump right now, but it's only fleeting. Eventually you're going to have to jump on board. They're not, they have no leverage, but Europe, America, and Israel, they're going to be the antagonist in this narrative of this end time narrative. And, and so be it. So be it. So we got to keep our eyes open. We got to keep our hearts filled with Christ. We got to be repentful and go to church, tithe, go to confession, take the Eucharist if you can, if you're already Orthodox, and everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to work out. So don't have fear. There's really nothing to fear. All this stuff is out of your control. So don't fear anything that's out of your control. Fear what you do that's in your control, or what you don't do that is in your control. And that's going to set you on the right footing with Christ. That's going to set you on the right footing with the church and with your salvation. So with that being said, guys, that's going to conclude today's sponsored stream. Again, a major thank you goes out to the Eschaton Vigil for giving us the St. Cosmas document. Really appreciate it. Again, go to cosmos.eschatonvigil.org and give us your email. Doesn't cost you anything, just cost you an email address, and you can be updated with everything that we translate, everything that we print. We got new books. I mean, there's going to be multiple new books coming out this year. First time ever translated in English, including one on St. John Vitatsis, including a second edition that's way better of the eschatological visions of the blessed. It's a lot of exciting things. Ghost throws in 5, says, one more to help with the goal. Thank you so much, Ghost. God bless you, brother. Really appreciate the support. Let me just double check, make sure nobody sent anything in over on the Dono chat. Nope, nothing over there. And let me just check Streamlabs real quick. All right. Yeah, and Rachel says, I want that for my parish. It's just a small mission parish, but growing. They're all growing, and I think it's such an exciting time to think about being like sovereign Orthodox communities, and maybe you have a small church, but you buy some land. Maybe you just, like our plan, just build a pole barn, just to build a temporary structure. And maybe that temporary structure is for 5 or 10 years, but the people build it and they will come. The people are going to come. The church is going to grow. Our plan is then we're going to build a traditional Orthodox temple. We're going to have classrooms, conference, space to host conferences and events, and a school for children. That is the goal. And I'm excited by it. And I think if parishes in every state had the opportunity to begin to do that, and I know that's exactly what Father Moses' parish in Texas is doing. That's exactly what they're trying to do. And Father Josiah Trinum over at St. Andrews, they already have done it, and they're growing. So it's an exciting time. And even if you're in a mission parish right now, find your community, find your parish, and stick with it. Maybe you're at a mission parish and the aesthetics aren't great. The choir maybe isn't fantastic, or even, average. Whatever it is, if you're in a small little mission parish and it's just maybe 10 people or 20 people, and you're in a temporary place, maybe you're in a hotel conference room, stay there. Don't leave the community to go drive further away just so you can be part of like something that has better aesthetics. Find a community and then involve yourself in its growth. Involve yourself in the activities of the church and watch it grow. I think that's hopeful. That's something that we can all be a part of. So, Austin DeTulio, throw in $2 more. Thank you so much, Austin, for your support today. Really appreciate it, brother. But that's going to do it for me, guys. God bless you all. Blessed Lent to everybody. And I'll be back with some more streams. I know that the Eschaton Vigil, we're going to be doing another one in the near future on the prophecies of St. Paisios regarding the end times, and going over all his prophecies in a single stream. So God bless you all. Smash that like, and I will see you in the next one. As always, until then, God bless.